Is that for these trees out here?
These tree and the Tibbetts Memorial Park. Is that where the tree work's done? Here in Tibbetts Memorial Park.
Okay.
Both sides of the building. Out here by, between there and Brad's, every one of the ash trees.
Well, I know they're all gone. But it doesn't say on this TRIPS one that they're gonna haul off this stuff.
Oh,
What? What?
To Stanley Hackett, Constable of Town of Limerick and County of York, State of Maine. Greetings. In the name of the State of Maine, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Limerick and said county and state qualified by law to vote in town affairs to meet at the municipal building, 55 Washington Street in said town on Monday, the 17th day of March, 2025, at 7 o'clock in the afternoon, then and there to act upon the following articles. Article 1, to choose a moderator by written ballot to preside at said meeting. Okay, so your town clerk had a moment last week and forgot to give Mr. Stanley Hackett, the constable, the warrants to hang. So we do, or we should, cancel this meeting for tonight and reschedule or postpone, however you guys would like to do it. Do I have a nomination to cancel the meeting?
I make a motion we cancel the special town meeting as proposed for this evening.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. All right, I promise I'll do better next time. All right, so you guys can now, do I have a motion to adjourn the special town meeting for tonight that has been canceled?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Now you guys can go to your regular meeting. Thank you.
All right, we will kick off the Board of Select Persons meeting for March 17th, 2025. Please join us in a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
No, to sell to give the generator away.
I look for a motion to approve the March 10th meeting minutes.
I know it's not on the agenda, but our first order of business is going to be to elect officers.
Okay.
It should have been on here, but we don't have any as of now.
Okay.
I make a motion that Brady Connor be voted as chair.
I'll second that.
I will accept that. All in favor of that? All right. And I accept the position as chair. I make a motion that John Medici is vice chair. Motion and a second. All in favor?
I don't want to accept
Okay.
it.
Okay. Is there a motion for a vice chair?
I make a motion that Bernie Carroll be elected as vice chair.
And I will second that.
Brady Carroll's a new guy on the block. I think that's a little
Bernie,
pre.
can you move the mic in front of you, and John, can you move the mic?
I think that's a little premature. I appreciate the confidence, but I'm kind of the new guy on the block. I think I'm a little out of my element on that.
Okay.
I think under some guidance, you'd be perfect for it, but it's up to you whether you want to accept it or not.
We have a motion and a second. Bernie, would you like to accept that or no?
I don't think it's fair to the board and fair to the
Okay.
town. I'm the new guy here. I'd really like to get my feet wet just a little bit.
Okay. Is there another motion?
I nominate Wade Andrews as vice chair.
I will second that. Wait. All right. Wade is accepted. All those in favor? All right, that passes. Perfect. All right, now I will look for approval of the March 10th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Brady, I'm going to abstain. I wasn't at the meeting, so I
Same here.
All right,
Bernie and Howard will abstain. That passes. Motion to accept the warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Perfect. All right, would somebody read the announcements, please?
Okay, the planning board, oh, that's the wrong one. The next semi-sesquicentennial meeting for the town's 250th anniversary will be Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. at the new fire station. They are currently looking for groups such as the Scouts, churches, etc. to participate in the event. Please reach out to Lisa LePage for more information, or please attend the next meeting. You may reach Lisa at 651-1594 or llepage6@yahoo.com. The Select Board will meet on Monday, March 24th at 7 p.m. Town reports are now available at the municipal building and or the town website. The Appeals Board has 3 vacant seats to fill. Please reach out to the Select Board admin if interested, 793-4475. As a reminder, if you are speaking at any meeting, please go to the microphone so everyone will be able to hear. And as part of the hearing of citizens policy, no personal attacks on any individual or firm, including town employees, town officials, or members of the public will be tolerated during any meetings. Please direct concerns about individual employees or town officials to the chairman of the Board of Select Persons outside the public meeting, and please stay current with town information by visiting www.limerickme.org. And we have some planning board announcements. Public notice, Limerick Planning Board site walk. The Limerick Planning Board has received a conditional use application from Paul Haney, DBA Haney Auto LLC, for a conditional use permit to cover operations on map 21, Lot 12 at 26 Owls Hill Road, Limerick, Maine, for a motor vehicle repair and service facility. A site walk will be conducted on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 5 p.m. at 26 Owls Hill Road, Limerick, Maine. Public is welcome to attend. Aaron Carroll, Chairperson, Limerick Planning Board. And also right after that, there is a public, the Limerick Planning Board has received a conditional use permit for Paul Haney, DBA Haney Auto LLC, for conditional use permit, map 21, lot 12 at 26 Owls Hill Road, and the public hearing will be conducted on March 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the media room, Limerick Municipal Building, 55 Washington Street, Limerick, Maine. Aaron Carroll, Chairperson, Limerick Planning Board. And the Limerick Planning Board has received a conditional use permit renewal application from CI Salvage, Inc. for a conditional use permit to cover operations on map 6, lot 1, 1A and 2 on 366 Secocas Trail, North, Limerick, Maine, for salvage lot and used cars. The site walk will be conducted on March 19th, Wednesday, March 19th at 5:30 p.m. at 366 Secocas Trail North, Limerick, Maine. Aaron Carroll, Chairperson, Limerick Planning Board. And the Limerick Planning Board has received same thing, map 6, lot 1, 1A and 2 on 366 Secocas Trail for salvage lot and used car. The public hearing will be conducted on March 19th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. in the media room, Limerick Municipal Building, 55 Washington Street, Limerick, Maine. Aaron Carroll, Chairperson, Limerick Planning Board.
Perfect, thank you. With that, we will move on to department reports, and I have Dee Dee Tibbetts, the town clerk.
So most everybody knows we had our annual town election, town meeting last Friday. A few people didn't know. They came in to do absentee today. I'm sorry, guys. But we have the results for that. Is it okay if I read them? This is for the candidates. Select Board, Assessor, and Board of Overseers for 3 years. Howard M. Burnham, 164. Bernard F. Carroll Jr., 172. Clifton A. Finch, 112. Dorothy M. Richard, 90. We did have a total of 315 voters that came out in person or absentee. Limerick does have a total of 2,605 1 voters. So it was a low count. Do better next time, guys. Come out and vote. Budget Committee, 3-year term. Janet Robinson, 253. For the second 3-year term Budget Committee, we did have a write-in. It is miscalculated. I put it on Facebook. I looked over the register tapes from the ballot machines today, and before it looked like Ashley Lutkoff had 2 and Susan Kerr had 2. After reviewing them again today, Susan Kerr had 3. It didn't specify which Budget Committee position on. We had 2 blocks on the ballot, and the register tape didn't specify which Budget Committee it was for the first block or the second block, so I just put them together. So Susan Kerr, I did give her a call. She did come in to see, because she thought she had 4 votes coming in. She does have 3, the most out of anybody. I did call, leave her a message. She was very interested, so I'm just waiting to hear back. For Planning Board, 3-year term. Most write-ins that we had, we didn't have anybody that take out nomination papers, was Ashley Lutkoff with 19 votes. As far as I know, she is going to accept. I haven't heard back from her, but she did put it out on Facebook that she was interested. So, Planning Board, 3-year term. Second position, Mike Nichols. He was on the Planning Board before. He had a total of 8. He did message me earlier and said that he was not going to accept it. So it is up to you guys now to appoint somebody for the next year. So their term will run out this coming March. Road Commissioner, 2-year term. Scott R. Parody, 110 votes. Robert C. Richardson Jr., 184. RSU 57 Director, 3-year term. Carmen M. Barsky, 244 votes. Library Trustee, 3-year term. Catherine S. Bradley, 253 votes. Library Trustee, 3-year term, the second position. Jennifer R. Morrill, 245 votes. Sewerage District Trustee, 3-year term. Brian K. Havens, 215 votes. Water District Trustee, 3-year term. Brian K. Havens, 253 votes. Article 3, yes was 257, no 53. That article passed. Article 4, yes votes 276, no 33. That article passed. Article 5, yes votes 233, no 75. That article passed. Article 6, yes 183, no 118. That article passed. Article 7, 262 yes votes, 44 no votes. That article passed. Article 8, 210 yes votes, 82 no votes. That article passed. Article 9, 256 yes votes, 51 no votes. That article passed. Article 10, 210 yes votes, 98 no votes. That article passed. Article 11, 147 yes votes, 158 no votes. That article failed. That is a high impacted article, so we do have to have a revote on that by the end of March. Article 12, 166 yes votes, 136 no votes. That article passed. 190 yes votes, Article 13, 190 yes votes, 115 no votes. That article passed. Article 14, 223 yes votes, 86 no votes. That article passed. Article 15, 212 yes votes, 92 no votes. That article passed. Article 16, 222 yes votes, 83 no votes. That article passed. Article 17, 203 yes votes, 90 no votes. That article passed. Article 18, 233 yes votes, 95 no votes. That article passed. Article 19, 70 yes votes, 163 no votes. That article failed. Article 20, 205 yes votes, 91 no votes. That article passed. Article 21, 104 yes votes, 195 no votes. That article failed. Article 22, 214 yes votes, 85 no votes. That article passed. Article 23, 183 yes votes, 114 no votes. That article passed. Article 24, 225 yes votes, 76 no votes. That article passed. Article 25, 182 yes votes, 119 no votes. That article passed. Article 26, 133 yes votes, 167 no votes. That article failed. Article 27, 228 yes votes, 73 no votes. That article passed. Article 28, 202 yes votes, 95 no votes. That article passed. Article 29, 198 yes votes, 81 no votes. That article passed. Article 30, 105 yes, 164 no. That article failed. So a lot of people have been asking for Article 11. What we're going to do, that was for Select Board and Municipal Support, Tax Collector, Deputy Tax Collector, Deputy Town Clerk Elections, Earned Paid Leave, Professional Legal, Main PERS, Retirement Program, Health Insurance, Workman Comp, Unemployment, General Assistance, Administrative Costs, Municipal Building, Brick Town Hall, Grange Hall, Old Fire Station, Luther Moore Building Repairs, Fuel, Utilities, etc., Public Areas, and Cemeteries. So there was a lot in there. We can keep on going till March 31st. I've already said that. I talked to Laura when everything went on secret ballot the first time to see what's going to happen. So she did let me know when she was still here, which she's back covering, but when she was still here, and said that that is one thing we could do. We had enough money to keep on going until March 31st. So it's up to you guys on how to handle it from here.
Well, obviously, we need to run past March 31st. In my opinion, that's one of us. However, I do know that there was some concerns originally with the yes and no recommendations, so those do have to be changed for, I think it was 19,000 that it was a, doesn't matter the number, but.
It's going to be a new warrant.
Yep.
So however you guys do, if you want to break this in and put it in separate articles, I highly recommend that probably should happen, but Budget Committee also has to give recommendations, so it is going to take a little longer to have the special town meeting than just a week, not unless you guys really
Well, we only
hurry.
have 2 weeks to get it done by the end of March.
Correct.
What's the
So-
lead time on advertising?
We have to have it 7 days before.
So that can the budget
It
committee
doesn't
meet?
have to be on a Monday. It can be on
Yeah.
any night, weekend.
Well, we're gonna get the budget committee to meet, right? And then, I mean, we're gonna be pushing it to get it for the 31st, it looks like. If the budget committee meets this week, and we get a 7-day notice, I mean, that, if we can get the notice out by a week from tonight, that gets us to the last day of the month. So I don't think we have a ton of time. Stephanie, do you think the budget committee can pull together this week?
I can ask, I can't guarantee it.
Okay.
Wednesday's the planning board, so it would be a Thursday meet, I have to notify everybody tomorrow, so it's only a Thursday or Friday time. and I have to film that as well.
Could you
So
do
I
it,
have to be chair and film person.
what if we had a joint meeting on Monday, the 24th, like a half hour before our meeting?
Yeah, we can try that.
One
If
try-
that
can
gives
we-
you enough time.
Can we try for that?
Yep.
So I make a motion.
Would that give us enough time, if we have the meeting the 24th, the 7 days would be April 1st?
Well, we can get it in, we gotta advertise a week before, correct? 7 days?
Well, it has to be in by noon on Monday, so
Oh.
we don't meet till the 24th. We can't advertise it in that.
But it doesn't come out till Monday?
That's not a week before, and even if we went to anybody else, it's not gonna be out a week
No,
before.
that's gonna be a week before.
Well, I mean, we're not bound to advertise in the shopper's guide. We can put it online. We can still put it in the shopper's guide to come out.
It would be after the vote.
It would be after the, well, okay.
You can put it as for sale.
I mean, we can put it, well, we still gotta get it a week before, which means it's gotta go in the 24th. But we're not obligated to be in a newspaper.
It's just 3 conspicuous places, correct?
We can put it on the website, we can put it,
Hung in.
4,
for-
okay.
yeah.
Can you run on last year's budget for a month?
No,
No? Okay. I didn't know. I thought I asked.
we gotta hang it in 4 places, which is easy to do. And we're obligated to advertise. If the best we can advertise is on our website, Facebook, and, I mean, we can see if we can get into like the Reporter for, I think it comes out on Friday, the 28th. They might, I don't know what their deadline is, but we're under the gun, so we don't have any choice.
Front bulletin board.
Yeah, out front. So I make a motion, we remove $10,000 from the administrative costs and hold a special town meeting to be worded exactly as the general government Article 11, except for changing the total dollar amount to $885,199, with the $10,000 deduction coming from the green sheet, which was some money put in to facilitate the possibility of looking for a town manager, or however that was worded. It was for,
I want to say it's in select board and this not admin costs.
well, it is in Select Board Municipal Support, but it is in, yes, $10,000 for the hiring process. So we remove that and continue with Article 11 just as it is, with that one change.
We have a motion, we need a second first before we can go forward.
Second.
All right, discussion. Judy?
I think, again, you got too much in that one article. It never should have happened that way to begin with. The town clerk, tax collector, that is one office. You're trying to get a town manager in that too. That should be its own article. So you're gonna do it over, do it, and break it off the way it should be.
I say we take that, my motion is to take that off altogether. So the town manager piece won't even be in the warrant article.
And I still think, again, you should have, because you're gonna, if it fails again, you're gonna be screwed, because again, we can't go past March 31st. So if I was you, anything that applies to something that you need to keep running, I would put that in a separate article.
Well, we need all of it to keep running.
They should be in separate articles, John.
But what are you gonna,
They get it down for a reason, because they grouped them all together, and for 800, some odd thousand?
Well, you
If
got
they-
$10,000 or whatever it is you're taking out, it's gonna make a big difference. I think between the whole total, again, because it's so much combined together, the essential things to keep these offices running, those need to be separated.
You
And-
could easily put 11 articles in there.
And I had people that came up on voting day, they actually had to come up and get a copy of the warrant early, along with a green sheet. They didn't understand all them articles. The ones that didn't do that said to me, after they voted and stuff, those articles are way too long. It took them like 20 minutes to vote. And I said, well, they did that because they was trying not to have so many questions on the ballot. But I can see why they were frustrated, because they didn't understand all of those line items that you had for an explanation in there.
Right.
Again, it should go back, even if it's 60 articles, if that's what it takes. If they're small, it says town clerk's office X amount, treasurer's office X amount on another article, they're gonna whip right through that. They're sitting there trying to read almost a quarter of a page on one article.
Even if they vote no on one article, it's still ahead of the game here.
Right. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it over anyway, so, and I would think it'd be easier for the budget committee, you guys too, also, to get that figure in there.
All you're gonna do is make 14 articles, correct? There's 14 line items there? Make
I
14
don't know,
separate
quite a few.
articles. Wow, make 14
Even
separate articles.
I myself, reading it line to line, when I was voting, some of it I weren't sure what it was. It would say I don't know how they was worded, but administration and this and that, and I mean, you pulled the treasurer. I just feel that each office, the code office should have his own budget, the fire department have their own article. None of this
Right.
clumping all that together. If you want to keep the selectman and the selectman secretary or that together, but I don't think you should add the municipal building cost and repairs. That should be under the municipal building account. That's my opinion. What do you think, Stephanie?
It's a lot in there.
There it is. We walked it down.
I agree.
Steve, did you have something?
Yeah, Steve McLean, former budget committee there. We've talked about this many times, of breaking it up. There's too much in these articles. There's nothing wrong with breaking it up, making it faster. All right? We had to talk about, everyone thought by breaking up the treasurer's one that would fail and everything else would, so now we're back to square one on this. So break it up. You know, town clerk, tax collector can be one, and the other ones can go. It's not going to take long. All right, and you'll understand why people voted no. There's some things they don't want. I think you've taken it out, John. That's the third time we've had something in there for a town manager, and a lot of saw with a lot of people. So just it's not going to take any longer to break it up to each individual one.
All right, any further discussion on John's motion? With all that, I look, all in favor?
Wait a minute, are we gonna break it up into separate things, or?
We have to finish out this motion first. John made a motion to write it one way, so we either have to vote it in, to warrant that way, or vote it down and someone can make a new motion. So all in favor for John's motion? Opposed? All right. So that failed. Is there another motion on how to write this article?
I'd like to make a motion, we take the individual items as listed in that green sheet. I don't know exactly, I counted them up once how many there were, but break them out, individual articles, and go forward with that.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
There is
14.
14.
Okay.
Well, there's 14, but let's take health insurance. Is somebody now going to go through and break that up and now move that portion of the health insurance to the tax collector's office, the deputy tax collector's office, the town clerk's office? I mean, that if,
Health insurance is always under one article.
but those expenses are for that office. So you're okay lumping them together for the health insurance but nothing else, and workman's comp
Aren't you dealing
and the
with one
retirement
company,
program?
John?
What's that?
Aren't you dealing with one company on that?
Again, that has nothing to do with what you're paying or office supplies for that office. That's health insurance. Everyone is enrolled, or who wants to be or can be enrolled in the health insurance. That's not just the town clerk's office, it's the it's
I know,
everybody in here.
I get that.
Fire department,
So there's $28,000 for health insurance. Some of that is related to the town clerk's office. Some of it's
it
related,
should say all employees' health insurance, $28,000. How hard is one sentence? I don't know.
well, I guess if you're gonna budget an office, do you budget it, if you wanna pull out an office, do you budget that office or you don't?
Health insurance has nothing to do with running that office.
No, if it gets voted down, I mean, then you don't get it?
Don't get it, I don't get it.
Okay.
You're gonna close your office down to health insurance.
What if about workman's comp? Can't come to work if you don't have workman's comp. If that gets voted down, you don't,
But that's all, John, that's all grouped together. You've got one policy.
Any further discussion?
So it's 14 separate articles?
14 separate articles, yep. Yeah, each of the line items, so select board, municipal support, tax collector, deputy town clerk, elections, so on and so forth, will be broken into its each own article. So there will be 14 articles on that, the original Article 11. The what?
Health insurance, workers' comp, social security.
That, on this, yeah, it would be separate articles. So it would, in my mind, it would read, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate, I could be wrong, $87,000 for workman's comp and unemployment. That's what it would read. Dean?
I realize there's an urgency to get this before the voters and get it passed and get the money appropriated. It just seems like there's a bit of confusion or cohesion in getting everybody to make a decision in this, we've been here half an hour, whatever the case may be. It just, I still don't know what you're voting on. Are you gonna take the health insurance out? Are you gonna, it seems like it should be a clear article or warrant before you vote to put it out to the town. And maybe I'm alone here, but it sounds like it's all over the place.
From what I understand, the motion was to take the 14 lines that were in Article 11 and separate them into 14 different articles for each line.
can somebody specify the 14 lines? Because there's more than 14. There's a lot more than 14, depending on how you're breaking it up.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Specify the 14.
You can't list each separate article the way it's listed on this ballot here?
Something you can combine.
So on the warrant,
Separate lines in there.
right, select board and municipal support, one, somebody keep count for
Okay.
me. Tax collector,
Yeah,
deputy tax collector, deputy town clerk is the same person, so that is the same budget.
deputy, deputy and that goes
So
through,
that's
that becomes 3.
articles so far.
Okay,
Town clerk, elections, earned paid leave, professional legal, main retirement program, health insurance, workman comp / unemployment, general assistance, administrative costs, municipal building, Brick Town Hall, Grange Hall, Old Fire Station, Luther Moore, building repairs, fuel, utilities, etc. That would be in another one. Public areas and cemeteries. That's your last. 14?
14.
I think, given we're under the gun, we're going to have to list them this way. Then next year, you can go back and appropriate the different utilities for each different building and the offices and everything else. It's just, everything was all jammed up. Everybody was confused when it came to voting.
Joanne?
The only thing that bothers me is that we painstakingly went through the budget process from September until February. Each one of those items were cleared by both the selectmen and the budget committee. There was only one problem with the whole thing, and at the 11th hour, the budget committee went from a yes vote to a no vote over $10,000. That happened after the ballot went to be printed.
That's not right.
Well, it was the 11th hour anyway. It was after, it was the meeting after the selectmen and the budget committee went through them individually and all agreed, they agreed to it.
Yep.
So now, if some of these fail, that I don't believe that that's right. I just don't think it's right, because we went through the budget process. We all went to the budget committee meetings. We all went to the selectmen's meetings. And as far as I'm concerned, that was the only thing that people voted it down for was that particular item. Just my opinion.
Lisa?
I just have a question. So you're going to take the budget that was presented, items that failed, and just represent them again? You guys aren't going to change
No.
anything? The
14.
people spoke, they didn't want that money. So I'm asking,
Well, John's motion was to take the $10,000 out for the,
Yeah, we voted that down. Wait.
So the issue with having so many clumped together is it may not have been the 10,000. It may have been some other budget in here that people didn't like. Maybe they didn't like my budget. That's okay. They voted it down because they didn't like my budget. You guys took the treasurer budget and put it in its own because you guys thought it was going to get voted down. You didn't want the whole article to be voted down. Well, it was voted down. So maybe it wasn't the treasurer's budget. So separating these, people will get that chance to vote for each separate article.
Charlie?
Charles Pellegrino. I'm a little confused here. If you've got $895,000 for this one article, if you start splitting them all up, how are you going to know how much they're going to want for each separate article? You're going to have to come up with a figure if you vote on it for each article.
So each...
It's all listed on the green sheet, Charlie.
It's already there.
Each line is already broken down. Yeah.
Okay,
So
sorry.
that's the number that would be used,
Okay.
would be the line, the number with that line.
Just to be clear, this isn't the first year. This has been done this way for 3 to 4 years. This article's been this large since 2021.
Right. What Charlie's saying is, we're saying we're taking $10,000, but where is that 10 out? Because if you just go vote on this again,
Well, the current motion has nothing to do with $10,000. The current motion
Okay.
is to separate them. John made a
Okay.
motion for the 10,000, that failed. We're on a new motion now.
okay, we're on a new motion, but I'm saying, before anything we're saying, we're taking the thing out for the town manager.
That wasn't
Not in
part
this
of the
motion. The
Okay.
motion was to separate the
that's-
14 articles.
Okay, so you're gonna leave the town manager thing in there. Right, I understand.
But the town manager is part of
Part of the big part of their budget,
it's
Sean.
not its own line.
It's not its own line. This is the confusion thing.
The town manager's not its own line.
The 14 lines of the town.
Select board.
Where is the town manager on, see, we're looking at a white sheet, you guys got a green sheet.
I'm not sure.
It's in the select board and municipal support, administrative payroll, personnel services, 03, under select board and municipal support, was $10,000 for the hiring process for a town manager.
So of that 133, 231,
$10,000 was there.
so there's where the 10,000 would have been taken out had John's motion not been not been voted down.
So we're gonna leave that tied in with all the rest of it. Why don't you have 15 things and separate that if that's the holdup? That seems to be
But
the
that's not what
holdup.
the motion was.
Okay, well, I'm just giving a suggestion. You guys are making the motions.
The motion was to break it up into 14 articles.
Yeah, but he's saying take the town manager out. The
Put that as the
motion.
15th article. Because other than that, you risk all the rest of the stuff that was in there for the town manager failing.
But if that article is standing by itself,
Yeah,
if people don't want that town manager, they're gonna vote no.
right then.
But the town manager's not its own article. The town manager's in there with your select board pay.
I'm saying, doing it with 14 different articles, that would stand by itself.
No, it wouldn't,
No.
because that's part of Article 1. That's the, of the 14 that she read off.
You change the motion to 15,
Okay.
separate
I
that and be
stand
done with
corrected
it.
on it.
That's all. And everything else is gonna pass. It's just everyone's got a heartache because that's the third time we've done the town manager thing, right or wrong. I just think somebody ought to have a motion to have that as the 15th standing alone and everything else passes.
Can't you modify that amount when it goes up for the budget committee? You can vote to separate 14 articles out, and then when you meet with the budget committee and the selectmen, can you take the $10,000 out of that amount then?
No, you take it out now in the motion. If that's the hang-up, amend the motion to keep the 14 articles the same, except for number 1 is going to remove the $10,000 for the town manager.
Good.
Okay, how would that,
Saving grace, you better hope that the budget committee doesn't have any other issues with those 14 articles, because 3 articles failed on this ballot. 2 of them had budget recommendations of no. I highly believe that's what people follow, one way or the other. So if you break this down into 14 articles, if they have an issue with another one, they're going to vote no on it. They're going to be right back in the same situation. Well, we just don't have all this time.
Well, we
We're going to have one meeting.
How many years have you asked the budget committee that have been on to meet within 24 hours?
Yes, $10,000 is 1% of this budget.
Doesn't matter.
It wasn't just the $10,000. As the chair of the budget committee, it was not just the $10,000. That was a problem.
So,
Okay, 19 with the trio issue. No, it wasn't just the trio. There were other issues with that.
All right, Dee Dee.
so the town manager, I mean, that's not going to happen this year, right? You guys voted it down, or they voted it down, everybody voted it down. So that 10,000 really shouldn't even be in there, correct? Because it's just a waste of money? Am I wrong?
I think the idea of putting the 10,000 in there was to start the process of if needed to down the road.
Okay, so
If this
obviously
year.
it's not gonna happen this
Correct.
year, so just take it out and put
Doesn't need to be
that
in there.
article in there without the $10,000. John was right, he did say that we've been doing this since 2021, this is the 3rd year that we've been doing this. People have complained that there's too much bunched together every year, so it is time to break that up. Okay.
I don't know about timing wise or if it can be done or not, but, I mean, I'm gonna vote no to the motion, but I say we send it all back to the budget committee and let them present us a budget. And let's see if we approve what they come up with, instead of going backwards. Let them come up with a budget and we'll either say yes or no.
But John, it starts with us. That budget starts with us, they're just overseeing it.
Why not? Why? Says who?
The select board make the warrant. The
Correct.
select board writes up the warrant.
Correct, and we can
The
ask,
5 select board members write the warrant. Then it goes to the budget committee, and they make their recommendations.
Are we right or wrong, staff?
I'll go to the podium. Sorry. Yes, it is the selectmen's warrant. We have typically worked together
to determine appropriate path. We ask that the the department heads present us with a budget. We may modify that presentation through our discussions as we talk to the department head and the board. So, but it is typically the selectmen's warrant that it starts with, and they're brought forward a number. We're brought forward a number.
Brad?
Hi, Brad Libby. Not to beleaguer the point, but to beleaguer the point. It seems that this great big lumping of articles together has finally turned around and bit you guys in the ass. Yep. It's been happening for a long time, and now it has come to fruition. I think the only thing that you can do is redo this with individual line items and let the people pick and choose what they want. Thank you.
Any further discussion? With all that, I look for a vote for in favor. 2 in favor, opposed? 3 opposed. That motion fails. Is there another motion? Yes.
That motion was just to break it down. That motion was just to break it out into 14 sub.
14. Right.
That did not include taking out the $10,000, which seems to be the sticking point. So if somebody were to make a new motion to break it out into 14 and take out the $10,000 for the town manager, sounds like that's what most people would be okay with. Or to put the town manager on its own separate, a 15th. Somebody made that motion, I think maybe.
I mean, to be clear, the budget starts with the budget committee. We put the warrant together, I get it. But we all know that the budget starts with the budget committee. They meet with department heads. They don't?
All meet with us. We meet
No.
with you.
Okay.
Normally, we meet with the board of selectmen, and then the budget committee will ask us to come if they have any questions.
MMA has a manual for select board members. You might want to read it. I don't know how long you've been sitting here, I forgot, but let me tell you something. The select board are responsible for the warrant.
I'm not arguing that point. Why because we're responsible for it, can we not have the budget committee do their piece first?
Because you guys write the warrant. How do they know what the budget's going to be if it's not on the warrant? You have to put together the warrant. The warrant is ironclad. You put together a bunch of papers.
But we all know how this process works, okay? Right. Every department head.
They look at the recommendations on the warrant.
Who do you submit your budget to?
It's supposed to be the select board.
In the past.
Select board secretary.
What?
They all go to the select board secretary.
She will pass it on to you and the budget.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can say how long have I been sitting here, but I've been coming to the budget committees to know that the budget committee has met for the past 2 years. What we chose the last couple of years is to try to meet together. So some of the select board has tried to attend the budget committee meetings at the same time. But anybody that's been at those meetings cannot argue that when that department head sits in that chair, they're dealing with the budget committee. And that's how they present their budget. Okay?
The select board are the...
I don't know. You've not sat in the seat. I've sat at the budget committee meetings. I've sat at the budget committee meetings as a selectman. I've watched it happen.
So the process has been broken for a number of years. The way it should work is the department heads submit the budget to the select board. Everybody knows that every single department head is going to ask for anything and everything they can. The select board need to then say, Well, you presented us $100,000, but we think we can get that down to 80. You guys are supposed to take that first pass, okay? So that when you come before the budget committee, the department head and the select board are somewhat equal, and they're in agreement. That's not what's been happening. You guys have just been lobbying everything to the budget committee. When the budget committee pushes back, the select board go, oh, it's the budget committee's fault. No, that's not how this is supposed to work. So, the way you guys should be doing this is looking at that budget before it actually comes to us. There are times when we get that budget 30 minutes before we're meeting. And it's posted on the budget committee website, and then we're supposed to go over it. I gave you guys an agenda in August of 2024, detailed outline with dates and times of meetings, including when we weren't going to meet. And again, 5 months, you guys couldn't get that budget together. That was some of the selectmen articles. There's only 2 articles that need to wait until the end of the year. One of them is workers' comp, and it's based on payroll, so we have to wait till that final number. Other than those 2 items, everything can be submitted ahead of time. But we are constantly under the gun because everybody is waiting to the last minute. And when we make a decision and vote no, we get the tyrant of it.
So why don't you let the selectmen deal with it?
Well, they're trying to pass it back to us and make us do the warrant.
Brady, can I make another motion?
Yeah, you can.
I'd like to make another motion that we take that article and remove the hiring process for the town manager and go with the remaining articles. In other words, have 14 articles, but none of it includes hiring a town manager.
17
Whatever it comes out to be.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, but if we go with what's on here, there's only 14 articles.
Well, whatever the amount of articles are, just as long as the rest of it's all incorporated in there, and we don't have the
10,000 for the
the
town.
10,000 for the manager.
You need the rest of it to run the town. And
Yeah, right.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Where's this $10,000 coming from? Out of the
The select board and municipal
support?
Yep.
Okay, so reduce that amount by $10,000.
That's what the warrant.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Discussion. Steve.
Oh, I'd rather have you vote on it. But anyway, I want to back up what Stephanie says, the past chairman for a long time. We have thought about it. This is why the budget committee is elected. It's not appointed, so somebody can't pull your nose and say, hey, go this and that. But I said it before she got up there, and I'm going to say it again. It's every year, the last minute, hey, can you guys meet tomorrow night? All right? Budget committee doesn't get paid. So hopefully this year, you guys get it together faster. Now, like I said, budget committee takes it, but I'm telling you what, I said it on TV 3 or 4 months ago. People are listening to the budget committee because they're going through all this stuff. You don't want to hear this. But that's the way it is, all right?
No, I mean, I think I can hear it. I know that
you're new.
I know that it was voted down because from what I assume.
Well,
I
there's
don't
some
know.
other things they voted down that was discussed by the budget committee, but as Stephanie's saying, it's always the last minute. It's the last minute. Well, there's 5 individuals. They all work. They had a plan, and she did the best job this year that we've ever done. Okay. And you had dates and dates and dates, and I watched it, and it all failed. Some of these guys didn't turn their budget in, and the attitude was, we get the same as we had last year. What the hell's the penalty? So you don't bother. And then the last minute, you want them to meet, make a decision. And it was said here tonight, well, the 11th hour, they changed their mind. Well, there was a lot more into that 11th hour changing the mind because they were asked to meet immediately.
No,
we're going to ask them.
We met a couple different times, and they asked us to pull some stuff out. That's how the treasurers got pulled out.
Okay.
We pulled the treasurer out. We went to meet with them again. At this time, it was the last chance before it could be changed.
Oh,
and then they
the
said,
last chance. Why wasn't it done 4 months before?
because it was asked the week before.
Right, but what I'm saying, all that stuff is supposed to be in time to give the budget committee time to go over.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. So hopefully you guys will carry the motion through and get this.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? The motion is to break up Article 11 into 14 separate articles by the lines and remove the $10,000 from the Select Board municipal support.
I've heard 14, I've heard 17.
There's 14 lines. There's 14 lines in Article 11.
Right here. That's what you voted on. 14 separate items in Article 11.
Separates the different buildings, the more building, the breakdown of, but the twice is the 14. That's what we're talking about. 14 minus the 10 for the
Select Board.
budget.
The actual warrant?
Yes. The warrant that was voted no, the warrant that was at this previous election is the number that I assume Howard's going by off of, these 14.
Yes.
These 14 lines which Dee Dee read during the last discussion. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, with that, all in favor? All opposed? All right, that passes. Next, department reports. Steve McLean, Appeals Board.
Did we pick a date? I mean, you voted on it. You got no date. You got no time. When are you going to do it?
April 1st.
Stop what? Any time for April 1st? You made a motion, but we got no date to do it. We don't know if we're going to be able to get it advertised.
Make another motion for a date.
Is it gonna make a difference if it's done the end of this month or the first week in April?
We don't have any money in April.
Has to be done
You won't
this
be able to
month.
pay any of those things in the first week of April. Huh?
Actually, I believe it ends.
Joanne, you said it ends election day, the finances?
Yeah, January 1, 2020,
January 1.
to the annual town meeting.
I mean,
That's what you're financing until the annual town meeting, then the money's out. So, or whatever. Have it a week from tomorrow. You get 7 days to advertise it. Have
Well,
another-
the budget committee still has to meet
What?
and make a recommendation. Yes, we have to make a recommendation on what we want to vote or recommend, and we still have to pick a date.
And you have to type up the article.
So why don't you have a motion to set a date, make a motion to discuss if you're gonna put it on there, whatever you just said, and be done with it right now.
is there any reason we can't expedite this and just call a meeting, those that can make it, for the budget committee and the board this week, and get this taken care of, and then leave it up to Alicia can get that stuff typed up? If we wait for everybody's gonna show up on a certain night, we'll never get it done.
Well, there has to be a quorum at the budget committee meeting and the select board to recommend it either way. So if only 2 people from the budget committee can show up one night this week, then there's not a quorum, so it's kind of pointless in having the meeting. So we need to pick a date, we need to make recommendations.
Pick a date, make a recommendation, then hopefully the budget committee can come in sometime. We've done it on a Saturday before.
Well, clearly, they've stated they don't want it last minute, so to expect them to come in on a Saturday doesn't, I mean,
I could reach out.
They
I
got
could
four
reach out to
more
them.
days now to get to Saturday. So,
I mean,
you guys are gonna get, whatever you're doing here, to get a date and word what you want.
She didn't say that she wanted it last minute. She was hoping that people were available.
Right.
I know, but there was a lot of conversation about getting the information last minute. Now, clearly, they were upset with that. Do we now do that again?
This is an emergency. So circumstances are a little bit different. hoping we have most of the information.
The information's already here right now.
Yeah,
We're taking $10,000 out of one item, the information's all there, let's just,
Did you get financed, your budget?
I'm sorry.
Did the budget committee's budget get financed?
We don't have a budget.
That's right, so it doesn't matter.
How many are on the budget committee right now?
5, there's 4. There's 4.
So we just couldn't get those 4 people in here for just a,
It's whether they're available, Howard. I can reach out to them, but
can we do
can't
that?
commit.
Like Steve said, can we do this on a Saturday morning? Since people are tied up at night with families and stuff like that?
If they're available, I can try.
I mean, we just can't wait around for this.
That's my question. What if the two boards cannot get together in a timely manner to get this voted for March 31st? Is the selectmen allowed to proceed with it without the input, or does statute say they have to have a recommendation? You have to have a recommendation.
They're gonna do their thing tonight, so it's not like they don't have to get together.
They can do their thing within the next 4 or 5 days, and so they get it over to the budget committee, and then they have that. This is the deadline that you've got to get your vote here for now.
Well, the next 4 or 5 days brings us into the end of the week, so it's...
Well, they're gonna do it right now. They've already done it.
Well, we haven't already done it. We need to have a new warrant written up,
Well, she could, yeah.
and then we need to see it and approve it. We need to make our recommendation and then give it to the budget committee.
Well, Elise can make it up tomorrow, if you want, whatever you just, you guys gotta get a date and thing now, and send it out to you guys, that's all. And then that'll give them almost a
I'm
week.
assuming
I hope there's not a typo on it.
Oh, Jesus.
And we need to meet and approve it.
Yeah, you need to.
We need to meet and approve it before we can give it to the budget committee.
So you may have to come in and sign it some night, or someday.
I don't think it's,
Well, if you vote to approve it now,
we can't approve something we don't have. You're approving something we don't have anything to sign. We're not,
oh, she can go in the other office right now and type it up.
listen, you don't direct her what to do, so we can,
John, if she got that typed up, can't we come up here and go into executive session and get it done?
well, why would you can't go into executive session to vote on a warrant. That's gonna be a public,
I think we'll vote on approving that.
Yeah, but it would be,
The articles.
we can call an emergency meeting. I mean, if this could be typed up in the next couple days, get it emailed to everybody so we can say there's no typos, mistakes, errors, or anything like that. Get it emailed out, put it out to the whole town to see so everybody can proofread it. We can hold an emergency meeting Wednesday night if we have to. I mean, we can, that's not an issue. I mean, I don't think,
You just gotta do it before the planning board meeting at 7.
we do it before the planning board meeting. We do it after the plan. I don't care if we do it 10 o'clock at night.
Well, give a little time and do it Wednesday. Thursday.
Does this have to go for a public hearing, once you guys have selected what you're gonna do?
No.
It's gonna be an open town meeting.
I mean, we can, I'll meet any night. I don't care. But then-
I'm open anytime.
Then it's a matter of us approving it, and then we gotta find out when the budget committee could meet, so.
And I reached out to the members, I have not heard back for a firm date, say if they're available.
You have already?
I have already, and I've texted them.
I mean, the fact that we all know what's being, there should be minimal discussion on what, ideally, we could all meet together, whether that's Thursday, Friday, Wednesday. I mean, that would get it done the quickest, is if this gets emailed out to the budget committee and the board, and everybody else that can proofread it, and we get a joint meeting, emergency joint meeting, and get it approved on the same night. So we're not approving it on Thursday, and they meet next Monday or Friday or Saturday, whatever. It would make the most sense to try to get a joint meeting and do it together.
But you can set a date tonight.
We can set a date for us.
Oh, for the meet, no, I'm saying for the.
No, but I can say, can you guys meet Saturday morning at 9 a.m.?
I can.
And if you can't, then our Monday's a backup date. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, but it still doesn't give us time to...
I mean, we're still gonna be tough with getting it posted and advertised, but it's, if you can do Monday the 24th, if we can do Monday the 24th, if that's a backup date, then we can get it out that night. That'll be, if we meet at 6 o'clock and we get it out before 7 o'clock, we can get our 7 days in as long as we get it posted on the sign, on Facebook, on the website. That would give us a legitimate 7 days. If we want to have the meeting at 7 o'clock, if we got to put the meeting off till 8 or 9, we'll do that. But if we can get everybody together and have the meeting by the 24th.
Do you want me to ask them if they can meet Saturday morning? We can get together, and then if they can't, give Monday as a backup date. And we can meet at 6 o'clock is that enough time to announce that meeting and post it?
I make a motion, we hold a emergency board meeting / budget committee meeting at a date to be set by the budget committee. That way what do you want? Do you
That's
want?
all you need is a quorum anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Let's make the motion right now, and then you tell us, and we'll come to you.
I mean, we know that three
There's
of
at
us-
least three people
of
who
us are
said
gonna
they're
make it,
available at all
so-
times, so.
I'll make it whenever it is. I don't care.
I'll see what I can do.
So you guys just need to pick the date.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Motion second. Any discussion?
Ideally, the date is before
The 21st.
the 21st.
You're lucky I'm not
The 24th. I'm
24th.
sorry.
24th.
The 24th.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Perfect.
So what's the date of the special meeting?
They're going to pick it and get back to us.
Oh, I'm talking to the vote on.
Well, we're going to vote on, now we have to make another motion to hold a special town meeting
On a certain date,
to
that's what I'm
change,
saying.
because the original motion had no date.
That's right. No, you're fine.
So
I'm just
we
saying
either
that-
need to amend the original motion to have that vote be on
that's it.
the 31st.
Okay.
It was your motion, so if you're willing to amend it to have that meeting held on the 31st, we can vote on it. Or we can there was no date put in it, so.
Okay. Okay, if it means just that date, I'll go back to the original. How many numbers are we up to now?
14 is 14.
Okay. To break down the article into 14 different smaller articles. Eliminate the town manager figure of $10,000 and have a voting date of March 31st at 7 o'clock.
Monday.
Monday. All right. Howard amended his article.
Second.
Second on the amendment. Any discussion? All in favor?
Wait, if we can meet on Thursday, are the articles going to be available for us to review and make a recommendation? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Perfect.
Good.
All in favor to the amended motion? Opposed? All right, that passes. Okay, we have a date. We have a meeting. Steve, Appeals Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, last week I was up here because we had an appeal that was presented to the appeals board. You guys signed some paperwork and said there's no need of an appeal. I had a call from CIA this morning, wanted to know what the date was of the appeal because nobody has sent him any notification. All right, now, you want me to send him a thing, say there's no appeal, even though we didn't do anything? Or I don't know if Stan's doing it or you guys, but somebody's got to let him know that whatever you signed negated the appeal. If you guys understand what I'm saying. We're in limbo. I called Ben today to ask him, but we didn't proceed with anything, so I don't think it's up to the appeals board to send him a thing saying there is no appeal, because that'll look like we're denying him an appeal. So that's, you got have a discussion with somebody.
Well, what exactly was he appealing?
He was appealing the planning board's denial, which got negated by what you were saying, and Stan called me the next morning, said he was sending his check back, but there's been no communication. So, you know, we're on a deadline of after you receive it, we got so many days to post it, schedule it, and all that other stuff. So,
Which location are you talking about?
Rangy Road, which is the paperwork that those guys took care of last week. So I was told at the time that it negated what there was no need of the appeal, is what it was said. So if somebody could just, you know, I don't care what you say, but just, you know, we're not going to have an appeal, I understand that, but that shouldn't be the appeals board saying, no, you're not having an appeal, because that makes it look like we're saying you can't have an appeal. It should either come from you or the code office, and I know Stan's been out sick, but, you know, we have that time date to go by. So if you guys tomorrow or something could reach out to Stan, let him send him a whatever.
Well, no, I think if his permit stays in place, it would be the appeals board's position to say there is nothing to appeal because your permit was not denied. Your original permit stands.
That's not true.
Okay?
No,
It must be if you say.
No, I'm just saying, the planning board met and denied it while the court stuff was still going on. And all the stuff you signed evidently negated it, so I don't know. But whatever. I'll send them a thing and tell them we're not having an
The planning
appeal.
board didn't deny it. The planning board came up with a new one to give to the court. The court no longer needs it because the court case is no longer in play.
Okay.
So the only reason for the planning board to come up with that was for the court, to give the court the information to move forward. The court's no longer involved because the parties have agreed. So therefore, his original permit that was approved by the appeals board stays in place, and there is nothing to appeal.
I just want to get it recorded. I'll do that in the morning, but, you know, like I said.
I mean, that's my opinion. Does somebody want to have, I guess we can pay the lawyer another $450 to
I mean, the
write
whole
the
thing's
letter.
a mess. I'm just saying, if everyone got together and said, all right, look, there's no reason for an appeal.
We have an email from our attorney that says,
okay,
if we, as a board, agree to not move forward with this case, then it's ended, it's over.
Okay.
Their agreement stays in place, and the original permit is the one that is in.
Can you send that to CIA?
That email?
I don't have it.
Yeah, we can.
Can somebody forward it to him? Okay. Yeah, he said he was gonna send the check back.
Well, Stan probably did it.
Okay.
We
Well,
can
anyway,
double
so
check.
maybe tomorrow, at least can send that letter you got, and that ends that.
Alicia, you work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right?
All right.
Okay.
Mr. McLean asked me.
All right.
There you go.
Perfect. I have. You all done?
That was all I wanted.
All right. Don't want to cut you off. That's all I have for department reports, so we will move on to old business. First thing on old business is the review of legal accounts. I did see one bill in there for $3,528 from Bernstein Sure for the planning board. So that is what was in there. I didn't see anything else.
I'd like to add that $3,000, every minute spent on that was all time after the two parties had an agreement. So the two parties had an agreement, and the lawyer from Bernstein Shore continued to work on that with the planning board for the sum of $3,500 and some odd dollars, when he clearly should have at that point come to us and said, what do you want to do? Instead, he kept charging forward with it all month long for $3,528.
There's a detailed breakdown on the second page if you want to. I don't know if we want to read it or not. But.
Well, did the board ask him to do anything, John?
The board has had no control over that attorney with Bernstein Shore. That lawyer has been retained by the planning board.
Oh, okay.
a total figure of what this mess has cost us?
A lot.
No, I'm serious, you know.
You mean this?
You want me to get up as citizen, but the point is, it's 3,000. How much more was it? And this was...
Well, I think we can ask the treasurer tomorrow how much was, so everything that was paid through Bernstein Shore
Right.
is all of that's part of this mess.
Yes.
And then there is still money with Jensen Baird
Yeah.
as part of this mess. I don't know, I think that's the second bill we've seen from Bernstein Shore. 10,000? I'm throwing out a number as a guess.
It'd be really nice to
10,000?
know the mess, because we sat here over a year ago, and everybody in the town's attorney called me, he was talking to you guys, everything, and said, the selectmen have decided we're washing our hands of this. We're going to let the two parties go to court. The town of Limerick is going to stay out of it. So from that point on, it's very interesting. We spent 10, we spent 15, $20,000 on this. Why? We decided to stay out, for good or bad.
Well,
we decided to sit on the sidelines.
we did from the beginning. We had to sit on the sideline from the beginning.
Yep.
We agreed to that because we were only listed as a party in interest
Right.
and not actually part of the suit. However, the court did demand that it get reverted to the planning board and that they go back and basically retrace their steps.
Right.
They did that, and the planning board chose to hire Bernstein Shore because I can only speculate and hear what I've heard is because they didn't like the information they were getting from Jensen Baird.
Yep.
So they hired a separate attorney who, I mean...
Well, it's all fine. I'm just saying, it'd be nice for everyone to know what that cost us. Because probably in a couple of years, we're right back at it.
I don't think it's not hard to find out. I mean, everything from Bernstein Shore.
Yep.
And then we can look back at the last 10 bills from Jensen Baird and see which ones say Nick Morrill for, the CIA appeal.
Because I talked to him for 30 seconds so he wouldn't bill us last week.
Right, you can't do that.
Very quick.
You have to continue on and ask questions for 15 minutes because whether you spend 30 seconds or 15 minutes, they charge you for the 15 minutes. So always keep your watch on and ask them any other questions you can for the next 14 minutes because we wasted it.
I think the planning board was under the impression because they were told that Bernstein Shore couldn't work for the appeals board and the planning board, and that's why they had to get another attorney.
That could be the reason.
That was their understanding, I'm sure.
Okay. So then that's the reason for it.
Stan will call Mr. Gerard tomorrow to make sure that he knows.
Okay.
You can cross you off.
I've got a question.
Yes.
These boards are given carte blanche to go and talk to an attorney? How come, was that cleared with the board? Our board?
I know it comes out of our legal fees, but I don't.
They
had to.
The elected officials have every right to call the town attorney without our approval. We don't. We can't control. We can give some parameters to Stan as an employee, but the elected officials can call the town attorney as they wish, which is the reason. If you look in, we lump legal fees all in as one, and everybody looks at that and says, man, look at what the select board has spent on legal fees this year. When in reality, we're minimum. Our conversations with the attorney are not as extensive as many of the other departments. So each department should have a legal fee, a legal budget line, but that's for next year.
But I would think that they come and get our approval first to say we need legal advice, rather than just letting them call these guys up and stay on the phone all they want, and then we get these big bills.
I think it's like anything, like any other elected office. We as the select board do not have authority over another elected position.
Have an ordinance and you would.
We got the power of the purse though right here.
Yes, but we don't have an ordinance stating that we have it. So we if somebody wants to write that ordinance. I was speaking about something earlier today about an ordinance from MMA, and I'm going to be looking into it. All right. Joanne,
The planning board ordinance, I believe, says.
would you be able to go to the microphone? Thank you.
The planning board ordinance, I believe, says that the applicant is the one that has to pay the legal fees. If you look into it, I'm sure that that's what it says.
Okay.
If they lose? If they lose.
Doesn't, I don't,
I think it means either way.
If they apply.
We'll have to look into it.
I believe the applicant is the one that has to pay the legal fees. That's the way the ordinance is written, you can double check it, but.
I think you ought to address that before you pay them.
Judy?
I know it says professional legal on here, that we're talking, that's all the professional legal fees for everything? That where am I? 142,000, that it, 740 on the warrant? Is that also the tax acquired stuff that we went through since last June of legal fees that we collected for the tax acquired stuff? Is that in that too?
That's not in there because we're expecting that all to be that's all going to be reimbursed from the sale.
Okay,
So,
Legal is only 40,000. Under legal and professional.
is legal is 40,000?
Says legal is 40,000. Yeah.
So 40,000 would have been the attorney. But there's other things in there where it's legal and professional, MMA dues, there's trio stuff in there, there's other professional stuff in there. And perhaps we are, if we're gonna be breaking them out, maybe the legal should be separate and other stuff.
Letting department heads know, MMA legal costs nothing to get their opinion. If they can't help, then they tell you to turn to an attorney, but go that way first.
Always did.
That's what I do.
All right. Moving on, cemetery mowing and veterans and cemetery committee, there's nothing new. Garden liability waiver, Gil was working on this. Gil is no longer on the select board. He was here for a little bit, but he left. I can reach out to him and see where he left off on this and take that over. So I can take that over.
Before we leave that, I know that, Judy, you had said once about making the garden smaller and everything before we get what the plans are for that. We're not sure.
Yeah, it's coming down.
It's coming down,
Yeah,
but I mean, as far as the gardens goes,
All those portable beds that are up there, those are all going.
Yeah.
I did get a hold of Heath late last year to see if he could come down and take down the water tank thing, the telephone poles, because that was part of the deal when we asked the town if we could use it as a garden. It would go back to what it was.
but I mean, individuals will be able to get a plot up there if
No,
they need
the whole
be.
thing's going.
The whole
Somebody
thing, the
else
whole
wants to
garden's
start a
going?
garden, they can go
Okay.
ahead and start their own garden. I'm done. You want to start testing soil, go test it.
All right, so
Thank you.
we don't need that. We can take that off. All right, recap on the Bricktown Hall accessibility policy. Questions about the second floor. We are still waiting for responses from the fire marshals and the Department of Justice. We are still waiting on quotes for lights for the municipal building. And the revision of 2 policies. We started talking before the new board about possibly going over 2 policies a week. Those policies that are picked for this week are the treasurer disbursement warrant for state fees and the treasurer disbursement warrant for employee wages and benefits. A copy of the policies are here. So if any of us if we want to take these home and review it in the sake of time for tonight, and we can come back next week with any recommendations and possibly pick up 2 more little policies and go from there. We'll just keep going until we have all the policies updated, and if we don't want any changes, we don't need to make any changes on these. So.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the lights for the municipal building, do we have specs out there for these quotes?
I'm just waiting on 2 electricians to come.
No, do we have any specifications that were sent out to these electricians to know what they're bidding on?
No, they're gonna come and look at the first floor and give us a quote for all energy efficient lighting.
LED lighting on the first floor of the.
The only thing I'm getting is if we're getting apples for apples on bids.
Well, I just expect when one comes, we'll walk each room, and then they'll give me a quote like within a few days, and then the next one will be the same. I mean, I can tell them I want first floor energy efficient lighting quote. They're gonna have to come and see how many lights there are.
Yeah, but I'm referring to the type of fixtures are gonna go up, the brand name, things like that. That's gonna make quite a difference on a quote, especially on electrical.
If they have some opinions what they want, I would certainly not ask for most expensive, but the ones we work with seem to be pretty good. But if you have anything you want me to relay to them, happy to.
Why can't you review the policy or the proposal and see what it is and look at the lights and scrutinize the lights? And if there's a big difference, have them
Redo it.
have them go back and look at their lights, and they can.
But in that case, when you get the quotes in though, if you're gonna change anything, you're gonna have to put it out for bid again.
Put out for bid again.
Well, the other alternative is to get an electrician in and write an RFP to send out the quote.
Correct.
It's not up to, the amount most likely won't have to go out to bid. We just need to get quotes unless it's going to be over $15,000. So assuming it's under $15,000, we can get quotes and not have to go to bid.
Can't you just have your electrician tell you what you should have and go with him if he's treating you right all the time?
No. Got to get 3 quotes. We can, after we get the quotes, we can say, this is our electrician who's treated us right, and he's the guy we want to go with, after we get the 3 quotes. But that depends on how much, we don't know what it's going to come in at. Depending on where it's going to come in, dictates how we have to, whether we got to get 2 quotes, 3 quotes, whether they got to be in writing.
Isn't that $1,500?
No, it's 15,000.
Just the bulbs, LED bulbs? It's not.
No.
No,
Because
it's
you
all
can't take.
fixtures.
Well, these have fluorescents with ballast. They do have a conversion where they take the ballast out and rewire what you have with LED bulbs. I believe that's more labor and less material. Or they can take these right out and bring in all new LED fixtures.
I know at the old fire station, that's what happened was the light bulbs were taken out and they were converted over to LED light strips. It was very bright. All right. So that is all I have for old business. We'll take these policies home and review them. For new business, results from the vote on March 14th. We've been over that. York County Budget Committee notice. So the York County Budget Committee sent a notice that to elect municipal and public representatives to membership on the York County Budget Committee. They're scheduled for Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the York County Government Building in Alfred. In order to be successful, the elected officials from the 29 cities and towns should plan to attend. Only elected municipal officials can vote to seat budget committee members. So one of us would have to go if a person of Limerick wanted to be on the budget committee for the York County. There are 5 districts in the county of York. Each district has 2 elected municipal officials and 1 member from the public, for a total of 3 members in each district and 15 members countywide. 5 districts times 3 members each is 15. Included is a copy of the districts with the listings of the municipalities in each, as well as the vacancies in each district and length of term for each. And it looks like Limerick falls under District 4. And there are 2 vacant seats on there. One of them has to be an elected official. The term would expire on March 30th of 2026. And a member of the public, and the term would expire on March 30th, 2028. So this is something we get each year, correct? And they ask us just to put it out there if any members of the public or any elected officials in the town would be interested in this. So if there's anybody interested in this, they can reach out to Alicia, correct? And we can go from there. Additions for the June ballot. Any items we want to add for the June ballot must be in by April 11th. That timeline's coming up quick. So that's just something to keep in mind if we want to add anything. Did we have any pending additions to that?
What do we want to do with what we canceled earlier tonight? Do we want to put that on with the 31st, or do we want to wait till June?
That's a good question.
I make a motion, we move the special town meeting that was scheduled for tonight to the warrant for the special town meeting on the 31st of March.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Steve?
Couldn't that be added to the other special town meeting we're having? No?
That's what I had.
That's what we just said.
Well, I thought you said the one in June.
No.
Nope.
Okay, so we're going to do it here.
On
March 31st.
March 31st.
Okay, yep, thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Perfect. So if we want to add anything to the June ballot, those are due by, the warrant has to be written, proofread, and submitted by April 11th.
So you might want to think about at least one of the other things that failed on the ballot. If you want to talk about that, and I feel like there was something else we wanted to add. But we need to definitely start putting that together within the next couple weeks.
April 11th is going to come quick.
Especially if there's anything that the budget committee has to recommend.
So we can look at that and come back next week if there's anything else that we want to add. We should probably come back with recommendations for next week to get that added for the June ballot. We have quotes for tree removal. There's 2 quotes to review. Each of us have copies of that. The quotes for the tree removal are...
Before you give the prices out in public, did we solicit 3 people and only get 2? Or have we not solicited a third?
No, well, I only heard from 2.
You only heard from 2?
Yes.
But how many did we actually reach out to? More than 2?
I sent out 4 emails.
Okay, so just because if we're going to go by the purchasing policy.
So I don't know if you want to wait, see if another one comes, or...
When did you send the emails originally?
A while.
I was going to say, these are dated for, yeah.
We've had one other one, we've had longer than the other one.
So we have solicited more than 3, so.
And so this is for work at this building and Tibbetts Memorial Park for approximately 25 ash trees. So we have one quote. You think we're good to read the prices? Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Article that we're revoting on, money-wise.
Tree removal. It's usually under the road commissioner's budget, I believe.
Road commissioner? Would that be ground? I thought that would be grounds maintenance.
Well, for here and up there, but
Tree removal is usually, it was under the tree warden years ago, and then they moved it, I believe, under the road commissioner because the tree warden had some and the road commissioner had some and they combined them.
They have a hazardous tree account.
A hazardous tree.
Okay.
Who does? Who has this tree account?
Used to have one.
The road commissioner has hazardous tree.
Yeah, it's on the repair highway. Are you looking for a third price on tree work?
No, I'm looking for where the hazardous tree money is.
It's under supplies, it says miscellaneous culverts, aggregate signage, and then underneath that says professional, hazardous trees, mowing.
Hazardous trees, yeah.
08.
08.
There's only 6 trees.
We only got 6,000 in there. But didn't we, knowing that they were at this building?
That's what, I remember something.
I'm pretty sure
knowing that.
That should be separate.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair to the road commissioner, or the road commissioner to use that budget.
Called out on the green sheet of that.
with the amount that's gonna need to be cleaned up, 6,000's nothing. And I'm not talking here, I'm talking
Yeah,
out on
yeah.
the roads.
Okay, another question.
Yep.
Ashley, when you sent those, contacted those people, where, did it specify about this, what trees they're gonna be and if they're gonna be removed or not, and they had to put,
Both of these they came to look at the property. So I put out there where the issues were, and they've been marked, most of them have been marked, that we wanted the ash trees, and, I mean, if you're not there, you can see the ones that are dying or are dead. So both of those companies came out and looked at both properties and then did their quotes.
but are they both going to remove the wood from the property?
I believe if you look at the quotes directly, they say,
Safely dismantle and remove
Say
8
that.
ash trees from behind the wall at the park to include full cleanup and removal of all debris.
Not
then
this one.
Town hall removals, 25
Yeah, it
ash
says
trees.
town hall removals.
I feel like there might be a, no.
And there's another one on the back.
Yeah. And then in the breakdown of the price is a yard chip truck and a chipper. So I'd assume they're gonna chip it. But if we want to get clarification that the quote includes removal, I'm sure we can get that. Alicia, is that something you'd be able to just verify? Sure. Thank you.
Says it right there.
It would be much better if they were to list everything they're going to do and not just have bullet points. So we know beyond a shadow of a doubt what we're getting for our money.
It says safely dismantle and remove all trees and debris. I mean, that's
Randy's
kind
gonna
of,
clean it all up and it's gonna be gone.
So one says he's got insurance and the other one doesn't mention it.
we do ask that we get their certificate of liability insurance before we would work with them.
Can you just
should accompany the insurance certificate. If he accepts the bid. If he doesn't have insurance, he doesn't get the bid.
Well,
That's what I mean.
I'm sure he does. He works for a lot of other towns, so
Yeah,
you're gonna
but
see him all over the
we
place.
just don't issue a contract
Yeah.
until we get that.
Yeah.
So, I think the one that doesn't say we have it, or doesn't mention it, we already have. Can you give them both?
I think I already asked for it.
Okay.
All right, so do we want to make a decision tonight, or would we want to verify?
The amounts that we're looking at is coming out of the budget that we are revoting on. Part of it is in municipal building, there's building grounds money, and also public areas. There's building grounds, I think those were, or one of them was the account that we were.
Public areas, buildings, grounds.
I think we left that amount.
Last year was 5, we bumped it to 10
Yeah.
for trees. And this building,
Had 10, I believe.
we got 8,500,
Okay.
but that's not, that's other work that's gonna be done here too, so.
You're gonna do for hazardous trees on the road.
So we got 10, well, we've got 10 in the public areas and cemeteries for buildings and grounds. And we got probably 5 in the municipal building, that's 15. And there is 6, so we got 21 total, but that covers everything for the whole town. That doesn't, that's everything. If we accept one of these, you know, some that's, I guess the road commissioner's piece can stay the same, because the 10 we have for building and grounds, and the 5 we have for, well, no, I guess this is a little bit over 15, both of them. Not one of them's not.
One's 14.5.
One of them's 14.5 and one is 17.5.
I just don't know if we need to wait to vote until after the special town meeting.
We might as well make sure we have the money before we vote on it. And it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to approve to do something we don't know we have the money for yet.
Speaking of which, do we have a timeline, whoever's dealing with that R.H. Smith, when we're gonna find out what we have in all accounts?
I spoke to them today. Their first order of business is they're going to send somebody from their office to our office to sit with Judy and the treasurer's office. And their first order of business is going to be to go through all of the land sales that we had. We've emailed to them today a copy of every purchase and sales agreement, because there were expenses that came out that were paid at closing by title companies that are technically our expenses. So if we sold a lot for $50,000 and the title company got $500 for their work and we paid a commission to the broker, whatever that might have been, although that was paid by the title company, those are our expenses that we need to account for, and we need to set our revenue for that lot at the total amount. So the auditor needs to see all of the purchase and sales agreements and Stan's spreadsheet that shows all of the money that was legal fees and all of the money that was administrative fees. Once she digests that, she's going to sit with Judy and the treasurer's office, and they're going to physically go through each sale, and as they do it, they will make the necessary adjustments or entries into the computer to take the gross sales and then list each expense where it belongs and pay back our revenue accounts, like the legal fees, for instance. Where we collected legal fees from a sale, that needs to come back into our revenue account.
Right.
So that's their first order of business. When they're done with that, they're going to still come back to our office. They're going to sit with the treasurer and any department head that believes there are adjustments that need to be made to their, any entry for their expenditures or revenues for the year. And they're going to go through them individually and make the adjustments on site in the computer so that the numbers will be accurate. Time frame for that, Julie was in today, and the auditor's office didn't have a date, but if they don't give us a date by Friday, we're gonna call them and tell them we have to have a date for the first meeting, and when is the second one gonna be?
I think we ought to tell them they ought to expedite it, because we've been waiting how long on this little situation? You know, to get true balances, John. I don't want to see...
Well, the auditor wouldn't, this is about, the auditor would normally do a short report, as they did, that we put in the town report, and it would be within the next month or so normally that we would get their final report for the year. So I don't think time-wise, we're not too far off where we normally are, maybe a little bit further, but I think there's just more work to do this year than there has been in the past.
True, I just want to make sure when we're voting on stuff like this, that we have, if it's $15,000, that we do have, in fact, written in front of us in black and white, there's $15,000 sitting there. Not looking around at different accounts and saying, we add up all this, we'll come up with 15. If it's a tree account, it should say 15,000 or whatever we got in there. And that's it.
Except the trees are in different spots, and we have a separate account for the municipal building that we do.
But you're going to have an account based on what is in that warrant.
Yeah, it just may be in different accounts where the money comes from for a project like that. That's all I'm saying, but they haven't even touched on our 2025 budget and whether that information in the computer has been set up right yet.
Well,
they haven't even started with that. They're trying to fix 2024.
That's the scary part.
Oh,
if they're working way back then and we're sitting here trying to figure out how we're going to cut trees and we don't know if the money's there or not.
Well, then we need to ask our treasurer to give us a budget report weekly, and as you've asked for.
Right.
Right, so we can ask for it weekly, whether we can be very confident in the information. I don't know if we can at this point, but that's...
Well, all I know is based on little bits and pieces I've heard, I'm not confident until going for anything like this until we know we get the money and I can see it red and black and white.
Well, that's why we just said I think we should certainly this gets put off until at least that vote, because that vote will change her budget items, her budget lines.
Okay. Back in June of 2024 is when we started selling some of the tax-required stuff. Then we got selling more in October and September and November. What happened was, again, we had a new treasurer come in. She wasn't sure where to receipt the tax required, okay? So she did ask if I knew about it, and which I didn't. If I do know what I cash receipt, what they are, because of the type setup. I don't know how tax required is set up. Again, it isn't my job because I am only responsible for the current taxes. But anyway, I got myself into it because, again, the checks were coming in. Somewhere might have been $35,000, it might have been $65,000, whatever. You go into the TRIO program, it's called type setup. For anything you cash receipt, no matter what it is, you have categories. And it will have a breakdown. Like on real estate, it will be principal, interest, demand fees, on and on. The tax acquired properties, what it is, all they had under there for a type setup was either what's in TRIO, you put that amount in, and then what's not in TRIO. Because again, some of these properties were probably stuff back in the 60s. So he had to go out and try to figure out principal from 1960 to 2024, the interest and everything else. So when I receipted it, I did call Laura because I weren't sure how she did it. Because what the problem was is some of the in TRIO since 2012 it goes back to for real estate. And it would give you what the principal and the interest and demand fees were up for like probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years. and then it would finally say Town of Limerick, so I was no longer committed. But that info was in Trio, like we're still waiting to get money or whatever. So Laura told me what she had done when she did tax acquired is she'd go in, if it's any principal on that, in that account that was tax acquired has now got purchased, you go in there first and you just receipt it and it automatically goes, the money's supposed to go to principal, the total goes there. And then what's supposed to go for revenue per se, like interest, demand fees, that goes to another account, the revenue account, instead of the general account, which is the principal. So anyways, we did that. And then I said, okay, so now we got this extra that's not in Trio. So where in heck do I receipt that so I'll know where it's going? Well, she said that's when you go to do a type setup of 500, which is tax acquired in Trio, tax acquired not in Trio. So after I receipted it where I to wipe it out, not wipe it out, but to get it to where it's supposed to go, the remainder balance of that amount, I put in a tax acquired not in Trio. So that's went on, so okay, this is working. Well, then I was trying to run a report, trying to figure out where did that not in Trio tax acquired, what account did it hit? So I had to go in and run reports through cash receipting for that day. And it actually showed me it went to this 802 different other type setups. So I said, well, I said, well, I'm going to try receipting in that, because in those type setups, it actually had the breakdown. I thought, the heck with that, not what's in Trio, not knowing where it's going. So I started doing it there, but then it kept going zero. I'm going, well, this isn't working. So when I called Trio, and I told them my issue, I said, I'd like to be able to put it in what we collected for principal, interest, demand fees, legal fees. I want that. It should be separated, going into what account is supposed to go to. I said, these two you have in there, it has that breakdown, but when I use it, it's zero. He goes, that's because your 500 type that you're using for not tax acquired in Trio is set up automatically to go to where those other two did. Thought they're okay. But again, I've been agitated with this since I first ended up kind of volunteering to do it. So as time went on, I started, again, I had to run tax. I tried looking through the budgetary reports. But what happens is we done like 3 tax acquired escrows in that 1 month, it was like a January, it totals the whole amount. So I would try to add to see if they match, and well, if they didn't match, I'm like, okay, so where's this other one that I did in January? It was just a total, one a breakdown. So I'm thinking then, well, it's not going to interest. So that's when I ran the cash receipting report, and that's where I could see what account it hit. Now, that tax acquired not in Trio hit a G1186 account in budgetary, which is just one lump sum of which I would get the sheets from Stan. It would have the total of what we got paid for that sale, including what you had to pay back to the one that sold it or whatever, and all that. So it didn't break it down in there. So what I started doing was I kept a folder of every single one of those tax acquires that I received. I photocopied off the check that we received. I had Stan give me his spreadsheet or whatever it was he had of how he came up with how much principal and all this was. I kept that in that folder. So that's what I've been doing for the past 2 months, is going through this, and I've been writing down where that stuff hit. Now, the ones that just went in that lump sum under the general account, that's the one I have to go back to now into those folders of his spreadsheets and pull out, right, I'm starting another spreadsheet of how much was legal, how much was interest. So they're going to go into that 186 account under the general account, and they're going to pull out the legal fees, the total amounts, and put them in the accounts they're supposed to be. The girl from Trio, not Trio, but the auditor, her name's Karen, I spoke with her 2 weeks ago, trying to set up a time to sit down with her. I said, we also have some properties here that was not, there's no money exchanged. It was, what does Stan say it? It was a good deal, it was an agreement they had, okay, on some of them. Some of them, I'm supposed to go and abate. I don't do that unless I get something from the Board of Selectmen telling me to abate or whatever. I just can't go in and abate money. Abatement, when I started in with some of these that came in, I went into Stan and I said, we cannot abate unless we assess something wrong. We can't go and abate to wipe out accounts, the money for that account that you sold. Went back and forth, like I said, and other things happened. So then I waited for Michael Donald to come in, and he said, you can't expect her to receipt something. If this check says this thing, she has to have something that's matching that amount that she's collecting. So that's when I started getting buyer's order or seller's agreements from the title companies. He contacted them, so they started sending me those. But again, some of them, you couldn't break down. You could only put the total in. So that's what we're working on now. Again, and once I get this done, I let everybody know. I'm taking all those folders, sending them over when everybody's all got all the money where it's supposed to be. And I'm done with the tax acquired, okay? Just up front now, let you know.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we got a problem with the software system.
It's not the software.
Well, hold on a second, because is it, and I don't know the software, I mean, I know you and I looked at it the other day and you tried to show it to me, but it was Greek to me. Is it possible, because this is a new law, and these are, the way this money comes in and is distributed is fairly new, is maybe, in fact, Trio isn't up to date with their software as to how this type of property gets accounted for. I don't know, but I do know that the auditor is in fact going to reach out to Trio, and once she has the information we sent her today.
As far as you sending money, let's say you're supposed to send a check, that was one of the laws that passed. If you cannot profit from that tax acquired.
Correct.
So you're supposed to contact heirs or whatever, the previous owner, will send the money back to them, that extra money. If you can't find anybody, then you have to send it to the state of Maine, and then it's in their bank for them to decide if they can find them. But as far as the TrueGo program itself, you can, like Laura, she went in, you can go into the type setup, okay? And you can, whatever accounts that you're trying to do with something new, you can set up a type setup with an account number that we go into, like 90 is real estate, 99 is motor vehicles. And then you put in what it is. If you've got principal, car excise, or whatever, you put them in under that, like tax acquired. You can put in those categories. And that's what we're trying to, but we can't do that, well, we can, which we did on a couple already. But we want to talk to the auditors first. We're trying to get this straightened out and then set up a tax acquired type setup account where we can do that.
And I believe that's her intention.
And you can do it. It's not that hard to set these up.
I believe that's her intention, and as she said today, all the money's still there, so we haven't.
The money's there.
The money's there.
It's
We haven't
just
lost any money.
sitting there, and it needs to be moved to the account, which they can do that.
We've
through
met our
budgeting.
obligations to either send the money to the state or to the last known owner that we know, so we've met all those obligations. What we need to do now is break out the money and separate it so we can refund the legal account, we can refund the administration account.
You can take it from that
And
general
then-
account, and you can put it into your revenue or wherever it's supposed to
And
go.
then what's ever left, per our ordinance, has to go into the capital reserve account. So
That's
those,
like I said, if there's any extra money left over, you have to make sure that it goes back to the previous owner or to the
yeah,
state.
but some of the lots, depending on how we got them, there is, some of the lots, we get all the money. There isn't a previous owner to some of them.
Like I said, there's some stuff there I don't want to touch on right now. I don't think you want me to. Because I said, it's the way that Mr. Hackett went in and he brought, like I said, he had a breakdown on his sheet of what all this stuff would be. But my problem is why I started getting huffy in the beginning of it, when you asked me why I had to have them sheets, is because, like I tried to tell Stan, it's because what the check says isn't what he's saying is due. So what do I do now? Or it's vice versa. I got too much money or not enough money. So how do I receipt this?
Well, I think because part of that is, as I stated before, if we sold a lot for $50,000, some of that money was paid out at closing, and our check may have been $45,000. So we may have sold a lot for $50,000, but the check we got from closing was $45,000 because they paid the broker and they paid maybe some title fees. There were some other ones that Stan negotiated with to where he said there was some, I know one, in fact, there was some question on some old billing, and in order to move it forward, like the one last week that we voted to expunge $16,000 from their previous tax bill, okay, because that was in question, and that
expunges is another issue, is how do you do it in Trio?
And that's...
And at first they started giving me abatements. And then I went back and forth with them on that, because abatement is supposed to be if we overassess someone. It's not to go in there and wipe out, we're gonna give you this, and we're gonna wipe this out.
That's why it wasn't an abatement, it was an expungement of that tax. So that'll have to be another line that they're gonna have to put in. But there's, I think some of the discrepancies are those payments that were made at closing. That's why our checks are different than, at the end of the purchase, at the end of the HUD statement, it should say cash to seller. And that amount should have been the amount of the check. Now, if that's off, something's wrong. But we should have gotten a check that says cash to
There's
seller.
all kinds of things that are wrong. Like I said, that's why I got a folder.
Well, that's why because the auditor claims they have never seen any of the purchase and sales or any of that spreadsheet.
And that's because Mr. Stan, they're all in his office. I have to go in and actually ask one. If he gives me his, then the next thing I know, I don't have one of his. He brings me in the one at the closing that they had with the total check, and that matches.
Yeah.
His don't always match. So anyways, Mike O'Donnell's are in there, and I asked him, I went in personally and said to him, I showed him what was going on, and he told both of them in that office, you cannot ask her to receipt something for this total and give her a paper that says this total. Those numbers that closing company
and
gave me that check for.
And the auditor is saying the same thing. The auditor is saying
I have hardly any of those.
If we sold a lot for $50,000, that's what we need to receipt, the total amount. Then we have to plug in where each expenditure was. So the auditor is in agreement with Mike. That's not a question. So she's going to look at all those. She's going to digest them. She'll probably put them on her own spreadsheet and say, this was what we need to receipt for Lot A, and these are the expense categories. And that's when she's going to sit down with you in the treasurer's office and plug those in where they belong.
Which I've already talked to her about a few of them, like I said. It was just exchange of something for this amount of money.
Yeah.
How you're going to break that down, I don't know. But she said that shouldn't have been done. But anyway, you can talk about it.
First of all, is the auditor giving you written instructions on what she is doing? Are you reviewing that, understanding it, and signing off on it prior to any entry being made?
Well, they haven't made any entries yet, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, unless they made in conference with the treasurer. I do know that between their original short report and the short report that we published, there were some changes made based on conversations with the auditor and the auditor with the treasurer.
Were they written down, discussed, reviewed, and signed off by the Board of Selectmen, who is ultimately responsible for everything that goes in and out of this checkbook?
No.
Problem is, number one, because that needs to be documented, okay? Because as a budget committee member, if I come back to you and say, what is this entry? I'm going to ask somebody to have the answer.
That
And
answer
nobody's going to,
should be asked of the treasurer.
should be asked of you as well, and you should have the answers. Before you put a piece of property up for sale, you should have a conversation about how that accounting treatment is going to happen so that everybody has a clear delineation of the type of property that is going up for sale and whether or not this follows this procedure. The auditor is telling you to make all of these entries. If you don't understand what is going on, we're going to be back here in another year when you put up another piece of property for sale.
Well, Judy just stood up and talked for 15 minutes, okay? And who in this room understood what Judy said? Raise your hand. Who in the room understood it? Okay, so we got one person that apparently knows Trio and everything else. So there's not a person at this table that understood that. So
that's a problem.
Well, okay, then I guess.
But again, you cannot blame it on the Trio program.
I'm not blaming the Trio program. What I'm saying is you gave a very detailed explanation of it.
Of how to do it in
Of how to do it, and you know exactly what you went through and how it was done.
But if Judy decides to retire tomorrow, okay, and you guys put up another piece of property for sale, what's going to happen? Okay.
Well, that's why we agreed last week to not put anything else up for sale until these properties, the monies are properly accounted for, and the system is in place to do that.
And a written procedure should be put in place so people know what to follow and understand the accounting treatment for that sale. That's part of the lack of transparency that's happening here.
Well, if you don't have something, you can't be transparent or non-transparent with it.
But that's what I'm saying to you, John.
That the treasurer has, and the treasurer does.
You've just learned that you have a problem, and you've stopped it, which is fine. But before you put up another piece of property for sale, before you allow the auditor to make another journal entry, you guys should understand what is happening to these town financials. Because the treasurer's not here tonight. We're standing in front of you, asking you to have the answers.
Then you shouldn't have an elected treasurer. The people that elected the treasurer.
That's not the answer either.
What's that? Okay, then I'm sorry. What is it? Is none of the financial situation of the town? Does none of it fall on the treasurer?
Of course it does.
Okay.
But at the same time, you guys, who's balancing the checkbook? Whose signature is going on the little piece of paper that says the checkbook is balanced? Who's responsible for that?
For balancing it?
The Board of Selectmen signs off on that, Howard. The board chair.
I've not seen that in the 2 years that I've sat here.
The board chair.
The board chair should be signing off that the checkbook is balanced and complete, and should have a complete listing of what checks have not cleared this bank.
So once a month in the past, when I was board chair, once a month.
The bank statements come out once a month.
We were given a folder, and it had last month's entire bank statement in it, and it was highlighted in green and blue and red, and there was some notes made and all that. That was always done, and the board chair always signed off on the bottom of it. That was done for years. Okay? Starting last March, and I wasn't the board chair, but Gil was. We had a new treasurer coming in March, April, May, June, July, maybe sometime around September or October. I asked the board chair when the last time he saw a reconciled bank statement was. And he couldn't recall, but he thought it was when Laura was the treasurer. So I asked the current treasurer, do you have balanced bank statements? And the answer I was given was no. This was 6 to 7 months in, and what I was told was, when I came in March, in April I tried to balance March's bank statement. It didn't balance, so I didn't bother doing April or anything further because March didn't balance. That was the answer I was given by our elected treasurer. March didn't balance, so I didn't bother doing April, May, June, July. Now my understanding is since then, the bank statements are all up to date and they have been reconciled.
Okay.
That's my understanding. They're done now.
So
But
that's confirming that we're not missing any cash, right? We're not missing, everything's there. But what I'm saying to you is you're now saying that we have things on the wrong line item. We may have expenses or revenues recorded in the wrong departments, okay? So at this point, as a citizen, as a budget committee member, we need to understand the movement of those transactions that the auditor is going to be making unilaterally.
no, the auditor, we just said earlier, the auditor is going to sit with the treasurer and the department head. If Joanne believes there was a mistake along the way in her budget, her expenses, or her revenues, she's going to sit with them and she's going to say, you have me down for X amount of revenues. I believe, and I can show you that I have more or less or whatever. You have me down for some expenses that I don't believe are attributed to me. So that department head, along with our elected treasurer and our hired auditor, will make those changes.
Are you looking at them and are you in agreement with the documentation that's being submitted to say, yes, I agree with Joanne's findings? Because Joanne can say, I brought in $250,000 and you guys only gave me 60. And it's the auditor and the general ed Joanne does a spreadsheet and they just make the entry.
Well, no, I would assume that
You
I
can't
would assume that
assume,
between
John.
the treasurer and the auditor, that they would have enough knowledge to say to her, show me where you brought in $250,000. So do you believe?
I want written backup. As the chair of the budget committee, I want a detailed report of every entry that they are making. Because I can tell you right
Then
now,
why don't
John,
you want
I
every-
found seven to 10 mistakes in the audit report last year. Okay, don't get me started on the year before. Okay, we're all human. But at the end of the day, the 5 of you are responsible for the financial statements of this town, and you should understand the movement that's happening and being requested. Go ahead, Howard. I'm going to turn the camera back. Go ahead.
Well, I had the question either for you or Judy. In that accounting program, aren't things tagged so we know what's what when they're entered? So we've got a quote-unquote paper trail, even though it's an electronic trail.
So when an invoice comes in, we have repeatedly for several years asked that the department heads assist the treasurer by telling them where this expense goes. And I'm going to pick on the rec department, and I know they're not here. They buy basketballs. Is that a supply or is that equipment? Because they have money in both. Is the treasurer supposed to know that? Or do we ask the department heads to say, this goes into my equipment line item and not my... Now, I know everybody says we don't line item budget. Okay, I've heard that. But you provide the citizens a line item budget when you give them that green sheet.
But again, we don't line budget.
But we don't line item budget.
It comes out of that total amount.
I understand that. But then the managers get up here and they say, I'm overdrawn on my equipment. The treasurer made a mistake. Okay? So when we get to the budget committee and we see a lot of these little red line items, we think we didn't budget enough. Come to find out, it's because nobody took the time to have a conversation or to write on a piece of paper, this expense should have come out of this budget. So we don't know where you're overdrawn or underdrawn, other than a total.
My concern, having come on the board, I'm one of them responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have solid figures in these accounts,
But Howard, the auditor's going to come in and do all kinds of these entries that you don't know anything about, and you're going to have to sign off on it.
that's my question. Is it going to be correct when they get done?
I can't tell you that.
According to Stephanie, that's for us to decide.
We decide that.
That's for us to decide.
You're going to have a conversation. You're going to have to understand the reasoning why that entry was made. And then if I come to you as a budget committee member, as the chair, or as a citizen, you should be able to sit there and tell me why that was made.
So should we have information and knowledge on every entry that's made?
Yes.
Or just the
What do
change?
you think you sign off on a warrant every week?
Just the changes? Or every computer entry that is made?
You should understand what's going, every entry, John. When you sign that warrant, it's an entry. When you deposit a check, it's an entry. Okay?
We don't sign off on revenues when deposits are made.
But it goes to a numbered account, though.
Yeah, but you should know if that revenue is coming in from tax acquired, tax of property, code enforcement officer, is it coming in from library dues? How is that revenue coming in?
So I can speak for myself.
Call the cash
Howard's been
flow
on the board.
statement.
Howard was on the board a long time ago for a while. Wade's been on for a while. There's people here in the audience that have been on for a while. Has anybody ever seen a revenue report on we'll get a monthly printout of, no, she'll even do revenues, but they're not individualized. So when we get a check from the state of Maine for $42,000 for road improvement, okay? She puts that in the account it belongs. We don't see that check for $42,000. When revenue sharing comes in, or a check from the state, or every tax payment that comes in, we don't see them as they come in. They get put in the account they belong, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't run my checkbook on a hope.
So then why bother having a treasurer? Why don't we just do it? Right? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
state law says you have to have one, but John, what I'm saying is you should have a cash flow statement that says, and $10,000 came in for tax payments this week. 40,000 came in for vehicle registrations. The code officer took in this. You don't have to have every little detail, but high level, you should understand what goes in and what goes out. It's a cash flow statement. It's real simple.
I think we can get that statement, but I don't know, will it be accurate? If that's, that's for us to decide.
We've received some over the past year. We haven't received them. We used to receive one every month.
So how do you know sitting here if someone comes in here, okay, and it's August, and they want to spend $25,000 out of their budget, do you hope and pray that they have it in their budget before you expend it?
It's already accounted for in their budget.
You don't know that. They could have overspent their budget.
No, it's up to them to figure out.
I mean,
The fire department's allowed, say, $100,000 a year. He's gonna manage that, so it goes for the year.
We see several departments go in the red.
Yeah.
Are you talking about red in the line item?
No, red and total.
No.
But because they're in the big general administration, and we didn't go over that budget for $800,000, we're okay.
Sounds like we should start budget season.
You can start budget season now, I don't care.
No, I'm
It'll
just.
take you guys that long to catch up.
Why don't you just do it all?
I don't want to do it all.
You sound like it.
You guys
Yes.
need to understand what you're doing.
With due respect, Stephanie, I don't think it does any good to drill into these guys about budgetary issues. I understand and respect the fact that they're ultimately responsible, but it's clear that we have a treasurer issue, and until she's recalled, this is going to keep rearing its ugly head. But we have 5 people here that are select persons who ultimately, yes, we all recognize and stipulate to the fact that they're responsible ultimately, but to have them responsible for how many basketballs the rec department bought is a farce. And, 10,000... Go ahead.
They're signing the warrant.
I understand that. But any corporation, it's led from the top, and you have department heads who have to take care of their department. And the treasurer has to take care of the numbers. These gentlemen are running the town, yes, but they're not ultimately specifically responsible for every dime spent. The buck stops with them, but it's not their heads that should be rolling because we have a treasurer issue. And, you know, $10,000 for a town manager seems like a drop in the bucket now. You know, that is something that a town manager ultimately can coordinate. And as the town grows and money grows and things get more complicated and more buildings get built, then we need somebody to help coordinate growth in this town. But it seems like everybody wants to save a buck and nobody wants to spend a buck. But we have to think a little bit more 20,000-foot level and think about the ultimate growth of this town. But we sit here and, you know, 2.5 hours chit-chatting about things that, like John said, with all due respect, Judy, I don't understand anything you said, and I run a business. So I think we're just spinning our wheels here, and we've got bigger problems. But again, $10,000 for an exploratory search for a town manager is, to me, a pretty good idea.
I think we need to move on from quotes from tree removal. We'll get to signing the catering permit, and then we can open it up for hearing of citizens before we go any further. So we have signed the catering permit. This is a catering permit for Blaze Brewing Company to do a Maine Maple weekend at Hidden Roots for a community event, which is open to the public. The physical address is 28 Tufts Road in Limerick. Do they fill out this application with you? No. And so the code enforcement officer went through it, so we just need to sign it. If anybody would like to look over it before a motion is made.
Somebody tell me where Tufts Road is.
I was just thinking that. Come down Dole's Ridge Road. If you go straight, that's the Tufts
Oh,
Road.
up the, oh, okay. Oh, the one that goes back.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you're coming down this way, the road turns this way, it goes
So
straight
that's
that
where
way.
Hidden Roots Farm is. There you go. All right. I make a motion, we approve the catering permit for Blaze Brewing at 26 Tufts Road. 26 Tufts Road.
Second.
28.
All right, we have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor? It passes. With that, I open it to hearing of citizens. Merrill.
Do we all sign it? Do we all sign
Concerns
it?
from an earlier discussion by your board. We talked last week about the zoning board of appeal application by CIA, and I heard nothing but errors tonight. So when you're putting documentation into your notes, those are going to hurt you. So I'm going to just start off with the last two agendas. You did not have this item on the agenda on Friday. And we're always supposed to, as town residents, supposed to make sure we get it here by Friday. So you can do it for emergency. However, you had an attorney letter more than a week before. At least that's the information that I had. I just can't get a copy because attorney-client privilege exists on it, even though you have decided you're going to release it to CIA. So I don't understand. You don't allow people to come in here and help you have facts. You make facts based upon your own feelings. I heard John mostly say that they were just wasting our money. When the court returned it to the town, said you need a new findings of fact, in December, they met and rewrote findings of fact with the assistance of Bernstein Sure and their attorney Brady. I wish I could find that information because I sort of popped out of my seat from home. And when I looked through the town website, we have no planning board meeting minutes from 2024 after April. So I could not get the date of that. After that, the attorney started preparing the information to have a new findings of fact. The planning board then was advised, I advised them that I have been working, trying to mediate some of this, and yet nothing was happening because CIA was dragging its feet. And I was at least hearing from several sources that, that they spent the money now, why don't they go ahead, and that's what they voted. They voted to approve a new findings of fact. They are publicly elected officials. They are not assigned by you folks to that committee. They followed their letter of the law, and they've decided that that is not, the initial findings of fact was not adequate, and they addendumed it and made adjustments. You can't do anything about that. You can't say, we're going to ignore it when you are not able to change a planning board decision. I listened, I couldn't believe how you were casting aspersions on Bernstein Sure for wasting money. He sat there and called Aaron Carroll and said, at least this is my understanding, hate to have things be third hand, but he said, since this is potentially going to be settled, why don't we just hold on it? At the end of January, I went to the meeting, so that would be about the third Wednesday of January, and they said, do you know what you folks are going to do? It's not up to me, but this mediation was a separate kind of issue. For some reason, CIA is not pursuing it in the way that would have allowed it to have been canceled before the final findings of fact was written. So they voted and decided to accept new findings of fact after they read it in early February. I was not at that meeting. I was out of town. So the attorney did not try to spend the town's money. That's an error, blatant error. Number two is, you're trying to make a decision, and you're not attorneys, and you have an attorney letter 3 weeks ago making it sound urgent now that you have to make these decisions in the last 2 weeks, that it doesn't make it as an agenda item. Yet you've had that letter for 3 weeks. So I don't see an emergent basis to any of this. I do agree, Mr. McLean has to do something one way or the other. But I don't think it's your right as a board to supersede an elected board. Thank you.
Any other hearing of citizens? Brad. Saws are in hand first. What?
I heard Stephanie give you guys quite a lecture on your responsibilities as far as the bank accounts and the budgets go. Well, I've got a certain amount of background in corporate deeds, and she's right. You folks are ultimately responsible, but at the same time, I think that we have to have some confidence in the integrity of our department heads, and they're either elected or appointed by you or by the citizens, and I think that it's important that we recognize their participation in this, and until proven otherwise, I think it's okay for them to, for us to assume that they're doing what they're supposed to until proven differently, and you folks have the paperwork to prove that and get to the bottom of it if necessary.
The trouble is, right now, we do not have a running balance. When you look at those bills, if there's a bill comes in there for, let's say, $3,000, you don't know at this point if there is that money in that particular account.
Well, there has to be some way for you to know that.
Years ago, when I was on the board, every week, and I've told the board this a number of times previously, we had it all laid out. We could, at a moment's notice, we could find out what, right up to the day, how much was in every one of those accounts, and you didn't see overages. Once in a while, we had one situation where an account got overdrawn, and I can't remember which one it was and what the situation, but I know that happened. The only one that you can overdraw is GA account. But the fact of the matter is, we should have a spreadsheet right in front of us every week so that you can come up and say, hey, how much have you got in this account? And we should be able to tell you,
Why don't you?
because we don't have it.
We're waiting on the auditor, Brad.
Pardon me?
We're waiting on the auditor.
Well, I mean, we can have that report. Someone could go into Trio and select the report and print it. It's a matter of if the report is accurate.
Right.
Why wouldn't it be?
Check didn't clear.
It's
The
entries are wrong, checks didn't clear, something wasn't entered.
Well, is this something new? When did this all start going haywire?
I'm not sure.
Or has it always been haywire?
As long as I've been on the board, I'm pretty sure there's been some issues. Now, how much I've dumped my feet into it, I'll be the first. I'll admit I don't know how bad the issues are until within the last year, probably. But how long the issues have been going on, I'm not sure. I assume a while. But I mean, we can. I can email the treasurer or someone in that office and ask for that report and probably get the report printed within. I know if it's anything like my accounting software, I run a couple $1 million business. I can print a report like that. It's a matter of if I entered the amount to come out, is it going to be accurate? The report can be pulled. We can get the report immediately.
The last reports we got from our treasurer was December 6th. We haven't received one. We haven't received an email for the new year. So the last reports we got from her are December 6th. And I can tell you, you can open them up and look at them. I can tell you right now, you can't count on any of the numbers.
Well, she's been out, hasn't she been
Yeah, but that's only
out on a
recent.
medical thing?
She's been out for 2 months? Close to 2 months.
Still, I guess somehow, somebody should have stepped up and we should have it, but.
Well, we brought in a temporary person to help, and she's done a phenomenal job. What we've asked her to do is help us weather the storm while Julie is gone. And we've asked her to make sure bills are paid, make sure payroll is taken care of. But unfortunately, I mean, when the new year comes in place, so when January 1st came about, the current treasurer needs to reset all the accounts, basically with the budget amounts, and start making entries from there. Then it's, at that point, it's a matter of pluses and minuses, right? Money comes in, you add it, money goes out, you subtract it.
Well, yeah, it's what I do.
Yep, you just have to make sure that if the money comes in for the transfer station, you don't add it into the fire station. Or if a bill comes in for the transfer station, you don't put it to the road commissioner. So it's a matter of putting them in the right place. So the treasurer should have set up all the accounts for the new year and handle money coming in and going out.
Right. I think I've answered my question. You have? I'm not sure. I'm going to go sit down anyway. Thank you.
My name's Sean Carroll. Last week, I presented a purchase and sale agreement for the Luther Moore building on Main Street, and in the interest of waiting for the new members of the select board to arrive, it got tabled. So I'd like to readdress that.
I think, and this is my recommendation, until we can get that trio situation figured out, I do not think the town should even think about selling another piece of property. And that's my opinion. But the board, the rest of the board, if someone thinks differently, they can mention it.
Well, my stance on that is that we can pass paper whenever, but the board can make a decision. And, you know, part of the problem with a lot of the boards in town have been somebody says something about legal, and then they say we got to talk to MMA or we got to call the attorney. And my stance has always been you're an elected board with the power of moving forward. We can, I'm not looking to jam anything. I'm just trying to take a building that's been empty for more or less 60 years other than an underutilized, and I think that's pretty widely agreed upon. Historical Society, who now occupies 3 buildings on Main Street, we can pass paper whenever, but we can agree in principle. I'm looking to just kind of move things forward in what we're kind of calling the Renaissance of Main Street. We're just trying to put the buildings on Main Street utilized in a commerce fashion. And I think I've got a plan on what to do with the building, renovate it, put something in there for a business, and, you know, check off a box on getting rid of these vacant or underutilized buildings. And as far as I know, the code enforcement officer has looked into it and said that the select board has the power to move this through. If you want to put it as a warrant on the June ballot, I don't care. It doesn't have to be me who buys the building. I'm just looking for somebody to buy the building, renovate it, and put something in it. Nobody has done it. I mean, I've been here almost 50 years. I think I might have been the last person to take a book out of there in 1981 for a report I did on Wales. I'm not sure if I did, Charlie. Maybe that's why they closed. But in all seriousness, the building has been, an eyesore on Main Street. I mean, occasionally, over the years, there are people that picked up, the torch and fixed it up. And the Historical Society, on the 3 or 4 days they're open a year, it looks great. But that building should have a business. And, there's one parking spot, and if somebody renovates the building the right way, it'll chew up that one parking spot. But, the building needs some work, and it should have the lights on during business hours. And it hasn't been that way for generations now. And anybody was welcome to do it, but my brother and I want to put a business in there and try to add to the pedestrian commerce that we're trying to push. Park your car and spend some time on Main Street instead of driving through town. A lot of people have talked about it over the years, but I think we've put a plan in motion, and I think we have a track record. We've fixed up several buildings in town, and we brought 6 businesses to Main Street in the last 5 years, and our intention is to do this one as well. And other people have done some things in the last 5 years. We weren't the first ones, but we caught on, and we believe in it. There have been other anchor businesses, Right Chocolate Shop, and people come from all over to go there, and we're just trying to create some other businesses that people can. Since we let the bank leave, it lost any reason to come to Main Street, and we're trying to give people a reason to park on Main Street again. And this building will help with that. So that's what we're looking to do.
Well, years ago, that was voted by the town not to sell the property, okay?
Remember
why? Historic preservation.
And pardon me for interrupting, but what we did there was we backed the wrong horse, because we allowed the bank, which had operated the bank building as a bank building since 1880, all painting the building, renovating the inside, keeping the electrical up. We allowed them, after 130 years, to vacate that building, because we voted not to let them relocate that building, for which that is not the original construction site. They left and went downtown, and overnight, the gem of Main Street, which is the bank building, immediately started to deteriorate. So that was a bad decision by this town to let that Moore building not be relocated.
All I'm saying is we should go through the same process again. And if they vote to sell it, we should have an independent appraiser come in and set a value on it. That's my stand on it.
Okay, but that is your opinion. I disagree. But again, it doesn't have to be me. Anybody's welcome to belly up to the bar and renovate the building.
I don't care if it's you that's buying it, Sean, or who it is. It should be left up to the townspeople, because it is a public building. So.
So is there a motion on what to do with the purchase and sales agreement, whether we add it to the June vote or table it for now? I mean, you made some pretty good points. I haven't seen it open once in my 3 years of living in this town, so I lie. I've seen the door open once. Steve, do you have something?
I agree we should do something with it before it falls into disrepair, but by the same token, put it on the June ballot if the town is willing to sell the building. And then you go from there. The same process we did across the street or any of this other stuff. If somebody thinks they're gonna come up and beat him on a price, so be it. That's the best interest of the town, because I think if we're just, we're just gonna say take first offer, I guess next week I'll come up and offer something for one of the town buildings. You can have that for sure. The idea and the thought of what's going on, but are we circumventing the process? Because nobody knew it was for sale, for one thing. The last committee was 60 pages given to the selectmen saying to keep it. All right, I know that was a year and a half ago, but whatever. Move on it, put it on the ballot. Let the people, it's only till June, it's not gonna bother him. That's something you guys ought to do, put it on the ballot, so the town accept offers or whatever you wanna say on that building. And that way ultimately, people are gonna say yes this time, okay? We got burnt on the other one, he's absolutely right. So, they were paying for everything, the bank. They were gonna move it, put a foundation under it and everything else, and it got squashed, and so everybody knows that building was not there. The people in this town now have passed away that knew it was moved. So, we all fell for it 15 years ago, that historical, it stayed there, it was always there, and it wasn't. So I think my suggestion is put it on the ballot in June to get the people's permission and sell it.
Now, I believe you can put that, get a citizen's petition and put the price right on there and have it on the ballot in June.
Well, you could do that, citizen petition, but why don't you put it on, why don't you just put it on the ballot to sell it?
You think somebody's gonna say the assessed value the town has that assessed at? I think it's assessed at $120,000.
But across the street, they're selling the old barber shop there.
Has he got it?
No, but see what I'm saying?
Here's my thought, and I won't be able to vote on it because Sean is family, and it'll be perceived as a conflict of interest. But I think it's a great idea to sell it. If he sells that, it's assessed at $120,000, so that's almost $1,500 in taxes that the town's going to get. They're not going to pay any insurance, any maintenance, any utilities, or anything on that building. So that's another maybe $300 to $500. So the town is actually going to net $2,000 a year out of that building. And if he pays whatever he offered for it, I don't know, $75,000, yeah, it's less than the assessed value, but I don't think anybody's going to go in there and put the amount of money that has to be put into that building.
I totally
Let
agree.
me talk a minute. Let me talk. I don't think anybody's going to go in there and put the amount of money in that building they have to and pay $120,000. It's not there. If he wants to put a citizen initiative out there and they vote to sell it for $75,000,
It goes for $75,000.
it goes for $75,000. I think if people sit down and look what it's going to save the town and bring in the town, and if they go in and reevaluate it and they say now it's worth $150,000, you've upped more money coming into the town. Just.
But how do we know someone else? Nobody knows it's for sale, is my point. Okay? How do we know? But John, 2 or 3 months ago, the realtor there, you had said to her, if we had done something different, we could have got more money from some of those other lots. I mean, whatever you want to do it. I'm just saying the public ought to have a chance to go at it.
Joanne?
Okay, we might get a few dollars more from somebody else unknown at this point. And that it gets sold to somebody else, and we end up with another weed shop on Main Street. I'm sorry.
I was thinking it, you said it.
I'm sorry. We've got a man that, and his
Don, are you
brothers
putting that in
that
there?
are willing to do something with the building. I think I've heard rumors that possibly an attorney would be in there. To me, that's very beneficial for the town of Limerick. You don't have to drive to Sanford or Portland if you need to get something done.
Yeah,
But that's my feeling. We know what he's going to do. I think the townspeople would stand behind it, and I think it ought to go on the ballot at $75,000.
I'll also recuse myself from a vote, but we could end up doing what we've done in the past, is to sell it to somebody and nothing happens. Sits there just the way it sits. And they do nothing. And they've stood at that podium and said, if you sell me this lot, I'm gonna bring a business. And we disagreed and said, tell us what you're gonna bring for a business. And we were told, I'm not gonna tell you what you bring for a business, but I'm gonna put a business there. And this board, the board at the time said, no, we wanna know exactly what's gonna be done. So citizen petition was taken out. The gentleman bought 2 lots in the business park, I think for $35,000 total. And there they sit, pile of dirt. Bring it in and when the tax man came to assess the lots, he went down and said, hey, those lots too expensive. There's nothing on them. You gotta lower my tax bill. And he did it. So that could happen again too.
Well, I personally think that I agree with Sean, and I agree with Steve. The town screwed up a long time ago by not ridding itself of that building. And what I've seen so far, what Sean and Jimmy have tackled, they've done a real good job with, and I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't do a good job with what they're proposing right now. But I think it's a fantastic idea. No matter what goes in there, it would be just a wonderful thing to see one more place on Main Street used for something other than birds to sit on. That's my thought.
So, I'm fine if you want to, it's the select board's pleasure to put it on the ballot. I guess I would ask that somebody make a motion or to put it on basically as I contracted in the purchase and sale agreement. I'm fine with putting it to the people. If the people don't want it, I'll go back to my office and go to work.
But you're talking about keeping the place intact.
Yes. Our plan is to renovate the building on the site that it's on, put a foundation under it, get it ready to live for the next 150 years, and put a business there. Now, that may change. If that changes, it changes. I mean, I'm not going to stipulate that if I don't do X, Y, Z, it goes back to the town. But I think my record, I think, should stand for something. Like if I say I'm going to do something, we generally do it. But that is the plan, Howard.
What was the asking? I just didn't see the contract. It was $75,000 was the asking price.
Yep.
All right. I make a motion. We put on the proposal.
Never an asking price.
Yeah, that was the purchase
and sale agreement. I make a motion. We put on the June ballot a warrant to read. Does the town of Limerick wish to? I don't know the wording of it. Does the town of Limerick wish to sell the Luther Moore building for an amount of $75,000 to
Limerick Housing?
Limerick Housing LLC.
So I'm going to recuse myself,
Yeah.
but the wording should read, shall the town of Limerick enter into a purchase and sales agreement with Limerick
Okay.
Housing for the amount of $75,000 to sell whatever tax map and lot number on Main Street that building is.
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion?
I have no problem putting it up and asking the townspeople, but to put a figure on it right now, first of all, let's find out if they're gonna let us sell it. Rather than putting a figure on it. Then we can sell it at, if they give us permission to sell that,
You
Then we're all set.
literally don't need permission to sell it. You can put it
We have
out
it in
at
our-
$200,000 tomorrow, Howard. There is nothing that's limiting you, the town, from selling that piece of property. So you want to put it out at, it is assessed at 150. So if you want to put it out at the assessed price, you're going to take me out of the bidding, I'm done. But you don't need the town's permission to sell that piece of property. Put a number on it, whatever number you want, and see if it sells. And get Casey in here and see if she can sell it.
we do have to ask the towns, because that is a town-owned property. It's owned by the people.
Okay. The discussion I had with Stan, he said he did research on it, and based on how the town acquired the property, the select board can dispatch of that property. If you decide you want to put it to the people to vote, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that the information is correct, and as I know it, you do not have to ask the town permission to sell it. If you want to ask them if they want to sell it at XYZ price, that's a different story. But you don't have to ask their permission to sell it. But if you want to put a number on it, ask the town if they will sell it for $150,000. That's great, and they can vote on it, but you're going to need a buyer, because that would take us out of it. But that's fine. That's okay.
Steve?
Either way, if you're gonna ask it, just ask to sell the property. Okay, if you don't wanna put a price, it doesn't make any difference. Then you got permission to sell it, okay, and that's what you're gonna do.
We don't need, we could sell it today. I think it's just the fact of
In
what
good-
building
in-
it is.
yeah,
I mean,
in in good faith, with all the history that we've gone through with it, just have an article to sell the Luther Moore building and whatever address and everything else it is, and then just sell it.
I'm going to keep my motion the same. I don't know if I mean we can vote on it if anybody wants to change it.
Or Sean could do a citizen's petition, put right on there, you're willing to buy it for $75,000.
If you put
Then
it
they
at
vote on it.
75 and a bunch of people say, well, it's assessed at 150, how do you answer?
What good is, what
No,
good
I
is it?
understand
You've
it,
got,
but
you've
why
got that
vote it
little
down,
building
Sean,
with
is what
one
I'm
parking
saying.
spot.
Put it on there to sell the building, and in the best interest of the town of Limerick, that's what you just took, okay? So,
No, I just have a quick question.
Does anybody, and this may determine the price, and 75,000 may be a fair asking price, Howard. That building is on the National Historical Registry, I believe.
Yep.
And that's, I don't know, there's rules? Is there rules about having to keep that in a certain, like you can't put energy efficient windows in there because it might change the outside interior? Is that, because when you start to get into these types of buildings, restoring them like Sean is indicating he's going to do, does come with certain rules and risks. And that is a historical district there. And I believe that building, I think there's a plaque, isn't there, that says it's on the National Historic District. So as he restores that building, he may have uphill battles that he doesn't know about. That's why I'm saying 75,000 may be a reasonable price based on that. And we know from our assessment, going through, sitting on the building committee, okay, the roof is leaking. It is doing damage to the interior. So we need to do some chimney work there. The plaster on the inside of the building needs to be totally redone. There's no functioning bathroom, okay? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I just don't know, and maybe Sean's willing to take that risk, Howard, but for the town to restore that building could be astronomical too.
And I think most importantly, that the building isn't used right. The building isn't used right now, and it will be if it's restored or sold.
When the people bought Kitty Sweat's building on Main Street beside the post office, the committee, the historical committee said that they couldn't do anything to that because they had to restore it to how it was supposed to be. And they said, no, we're going to restore it how we think it should be. and they did what they wanted to that building. So I think as long as Sean keeps it looking roughly the same, he should be able to do it however he wants, because it costs $3 million to restore it the way that the Historical Society wants it. And the next thing on that building, if that was a regular building lot with a place for a two-car garage, I'd say put it out to bid. I would say where the rain falls off the roof is a property line, and he's the only one that's going to benefit out of that building. I don't think you're going to get any higher bidders on it. So I think it should go to him where he owns all the land around it. That's me.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Steve, is that an arm raise or no? Just scratch.
What was the motion again?
The motion was to enter into a purchase and sales agreement with Limerick Housing LLC for map and lot of the Luther Moore building for $75,000. All right. If there's no further discussion, all in favor? All opposed? And abstaining. All right. So 2 in favor, 2 abstaining, 1 opposed. Does that pass? You say it now.
Can we amend a vote?
Is that 2 opposed or 2 abstain?
It passes.
It passes. Okay.
Can we amend a vote to put on a special town meeting?
We made the motion, can amend it if they wish.
You gotta.
I make a motion, we amend that article to be moved to the special town meeting on March 31st, 2025.
I'll second that.
Alicia, I love you. I'll say it into the microphone. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And abstaining? All right, that passes. Here, any other hearing of citizens?
I make him wait.
I see none. I look for a motion. Oh.
Not citizens, but shoot, I know he's gone, but I wanted to recommend Lucian Langlois for the planning board seat. So I make a motion, we offer the empty planning board seat to Lucian Langlois.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
See if he takes it. The other last thing I have is, I'm not going to ask now, but I will be asking after hopefully the warrant passes that includes the legal fees, that 2 weeks ago Cheryl Edgerly stood to the podium, told a bold-faced lie, slandered me, defamed me, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to ask that the town attorney implement a suit against her on my behalf, but I'll wait till the budget passes, so it'll be coming up. Or she can apologize and say she was wrong, or bring the proof that she claims she has. One of the three.
All right, is there anything else? I see none. I look for a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
All right. All in favor? All right, thank you. The meeting is adjourned.